on the right there, me out there with the, so that might look like some fashion shoot, but I was just out there taking pictures of my car. And this woman, this photographer who was doing wedding photography, she was like, "Can I take some pictures?" She was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just taking pictures
out here
of my
looking
car."
good.
And she was like, "I love your whole vibe. Can I take some pictures of you?"
You mean
And I'm
like some tasteful nudes? Nothing weird. Or anything.
so it's funny because it like looks like I paid for like this photo shoot of myself, but it was just that's why I love Vegas, man. You just meet people all the time.
That's fucking awesome. Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. I am Josh Henning.
I'm Phil Gerber.
I'm Jeremy Gerber.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. Today's guest is Aaron Chepenik, co-founder of Nevada H&C Distilling Company. Nevada H&C Distilling Company, along with Hollywood action screenwriter, director John Hensley.
Yeah.
Right? And Aaron?
That's me.
Nevada Distilling Company, founded in 2012. They're the brand behind Smoke Wagon.
Yes.
Smoke Wagon Whiskey. It's the fine bottles we have sitting at the end. And this is the first that I've been a little intimidated. Because that's a lot. Usually we've got one big bottle.
And now we're going to sound like morons. You know, everybody, the people listening to this are generally not like that in tune with bourbon, so we come off as knowing what we're talking about.
I wonder
now
if
we're
they could-
fucked
I wonder
because
if
we've
they
got a
can-
professional.
Kind of like when car guys talk to us.
Right, yeah.
Well, no. See, I mean, my whole philosophy is you either like it or you don't. That's all that matters.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You can find out more at nevadadistilling.com or follow him on Instagram at smokewagon_Aaron or at Smokewagon Whiskey. Aaron, welcome to Oil and Whiskey.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Your shop's amazing.
Thanks, dude.
Roaster shop build has always been a dream of mine. No joke.
That's awesome. Awesome to hear.
Yeah, I can actually. So my buddy Corey, he was like, "Hey, did you know these guys had a podcast?" And I was like, "Oh, I just saw that." And then right after that, you were like, "Hey, you want to come on?" I was like, "I'm going to be in Chicago," and it just all worked out.
It was fate.
Crazy timing.
Stars are aligning.
And I remember my Uber driver or Lyft driver, whatever it was, he was driving me here, and I was like, "There's the sign." That's it. And there's some forged line wheels. I'm in the right place.
That's
Dude,
awesome.
you're like the perfect guest, really, because I mean, you're a car. We chatted quite a bit out there. I mean, you're
Yeah.
a legit car guy. You got
I
some
love
cool,
them.
some
Thank
cool
you.
shit. And
Yeah, they'd be cooler if you were working on them.
yeah, we'll have to get a few chassis on them. Sounds like you got plenty of projects, so hopefully we can
Lord,
participate in the future.
So besides this fine podcast and obviously Roadster Shop, what brings you to Chicago?
I did the Binny's World of Whiskey Fest yesterday, and Illinois is very, very good market for us.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's excellent.
A lot of drunks up here.
Connoisseurs, I think.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, actually, to think about it, this was the first, like, I was in Arizona, California, and Nevada, and we were only in those states because I was going everywhere. I was doing everything. We didn't have any money to hire brand ambassadors or sales reps or anything. And my distributor here, Momentum, they had to talk me into coming here. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't have any money. I don't want to go there and die. And he's like, no, everybody's talking about your brand. Just please. And I was like, okay, fine. And he was like, what are your expectations? I was like, I have zero expectations. And I said, why? Because like small brands like me come in and they think they're going to blow up and they don't. And then they start yelling at you as a distributor for not doing your job. He's like, that's exactly what happens. Because, I mean, I've owned bars since 2003. So, like, a lot of people are like, oh, I've been in this industry for 20 years. You're like, oh, what'd you do? You know, like, oh, I was a bar bag 20 years ago, or dishwasher. I'm like, well, I owned bars 20 years ago. So we did our first order, and it was like a mixed palate. So, like, whatever. This many cases. We only had 3 SKUs back then. Straight, small batch, and uncut unfiltered. And then, like, the next order was a pallet of each. And then 2 days later, it was, like, 2 pallets of each. And, like, the day after that, it was, like, 3 pallets of each. I was like, what is going on here? Like, you told me we were going to do, like, 900 cases the whole year. And now we're up to, like, 2,000 six-packs. And it's, like, me, an admin, and, like, one person working in the warehouse.
So that's that, like, oh, fuck moment, right?
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
Hey, we got something here.
Yes. And it was, like, one right after the other. It was Illinois, then Colorado, which same distributor, and then Texas. And if I'll always give advice to upstart brands, make sure you resonate in Texas. If you resonate in Texas, you're going to be okay, because they will take everything. It's insane.
Your branding hits home pretty good in the Texas.
Yeah.
Your look, your branding, everything kind of.
Well, before we get too carried away, what do we start with first?
Okay, so I would say you start with the red, white, and blue straight bottle. That's our holiday. So that's just the entry-level bourbon. And so when I did that like 4 years ago, we had everything kind of was going up and up in price. Like I started with a small batch, and then I did uncut, and then we did Desert Jewel, and then it was private barrels. And I was just like, I just want to do an affordable daily cask strength bourbon, because I feel like everything's getting insane. It's all too crazy and too expensive. And so I did this, and okay, yeah, all right. We got five bottles here, but all right.
That's Phil's. Don't be mine.
All right, you say when. Good?
Say
A
when.
little more. That's cool right there, especially those big glasses. Especially because you're probably going to be drinking it slow, and so you're going to be sipping and stuff.
Yeah, I thought you shoot this stuff. No, this is.
You can do whatever you want. I just, for the sake of the podcast, I figured, you're trying to describe something that people aren't experiencing. But yeah, so that won 2 double golds at San Francisco World Spirits Competition, which is more important to me than any rare stuff, because that's something everybody can get. And I also felt like entry level had sort of lost its way when it came to bourbon, because if you look at like any other industry, if entry level is a big giant turd, you're not going to want to go up in that brand. Like whether it's skill based, like if you buy a motorcycle and you get the entry level and it falls apart on you, you're not going to be like, man, when I get good, And so I just felt like everybody should enjoy it. You don't have to be a bourbon drinker.
Right.
And so just kept it fruity and light and delicate, because what most people don't like is oak, even though they all say they want 100-year-old 1,000-proof bourbon. When you do blind,
to just melt the skin out of my mouth.
When you do blind tastings, people want 5 to 7 year primarily. It's got all the flavors they actually like. And so let's try it. See if I'm talking out of my ass or not.
It's like good timing.
Man,
That's solid.
Yeah.
it's so good. And so it's in every summer I do a different flag themed bottle.
It's an awesome bottle.
Thank you.
You wanted to do the entry level. You obviously knew you wanted to hit a price point.
Yes.
And you also wanted the flavor. What did your blending process look like that's different on this than it is on some of the premium stuff?
Oh, well, that's easy. It has so much water added that it really has to be shitty to start with, but a specific kind of shitty, so that I know when I add water it's going to be delicious. Because if it's too smooth or too delicate, too nice at cask strength, and you proof it all the way down to 92.5, there's not going to be anything left. So
is that you're saying shitty? Is that one that has been aged super fast or super hot, or what makes it that quote unquote shitty?
Well, they all are. Everything is.
Okay.
Yeah. Like when you start off, like everybody talks about blending, like you're baking a cake, or mixology or something like that, where you're taking all these flavors you like and you're combining them to get them all to work together. And that's not what it is at all. It's a science experiment, because even like something like this, which is all 4-year, I have like 6 or 7 different locations, warehouse locations of 4-year, from varying floors. And so they're all going to be different proof. And every time you mix all the different proofs together, you create a chemical reaction which generates heat and micro bubbles. And that chemical reaction changes everything. And so you have to figure out how to get all these things that don't necessarily taste good on their own to interact with each other and cancel out the negative aspect. And it's always the finish. The finish is always the problem. They're all going to taste yummy up front. They're all going to be like sweet and fruity.
Yep.
But the finish is where the work comes in.
That's something we did not take into account when we made up those 2 bottles behind him. So we did. We took every bit of whiskey that we drank in season 1, which was 36 bottles, and we did an ounce
right
of every single one of them. poured it in there because you're like, oh, it's all good shit. We haven't tasted it yet, so we don't know. But I didn't know that there was a chemical reaction.
Like, what the fuck is the matter with you guys? It's gonna suck.
It's gonna suck.
Yeah, anytime you mix together anything of different proofs, and like so, we generally let stuff sit overnight. But like if you're in a situation where you kind of have to bottle it as soon as possible, what you can do is check the temperature of your tank, and once it's back to room temperature and no longer higher than room temperature, the chemical reaction's over. That there's no more micro bubbles, and you can bottle it without worrying about the cork popping or getting false high proof readings.
So when you're doing something like that, and you're aging like a 4-year. Is there a window where you know that it's okay, that you're onto something, that you're not going to wait 4 years and open this barrel and be like, this sucks, fuck?
Most of them, when I open them, they suck.
Okay.
and they suck way less in the summertime than they do in the wintertime. And that's one of the reasons that like a lot of places will steam heat their rack houses in the winter, so that you're always getting expansion into the wood. Because in the wintertime, when everything gets cold and all contracts, it pulls everything out of the wood. So the barrels in the wintertime, man, it's like, they're hard to work with. They're medicinal. They're over oaked. Even at 3 or 4 years, they're going to have way too many tannins because it's all been sucked out of the wood. But I love it because I love the challenge, and I love the way it changes and everything. Because I'm a blender. I'm not a distiller. Distillers are chemists. They don't want variation. They want the perfect science experiment where everything's the same every time. And so it's just the work is like figuring out, okay. Now in the beginning, yes. In the beginning, if I would get like something that didn't taste very good, I'd be like, ah. But now that I've been doing it so long, I'm like, okay, well, I understand how to get this one's over oaked and this one's like too young and medicinal, and these are going to cancel each other out. But sometimes they're all like bad the same way,
and then you got nothing canceling.
Yeah, and so you just got to figure it out, and sometimes it just takes time, and it's like this winter I'd post videos like, oh my god, doing this blend like kick my ass, and people are like, oh, you're drunk. I'm like, I'm not drunk. I mean emotionally, like these guys are waiting for me. We got to get this blend done so that we can batch it and have it ready for tomorrow. I've been doing this now for like 4 or 5 hours straight. Every calculated decision I make has been wrong. Like what? what? Can I figure it out? Can I do it? Like, is it going to happen? Because I'm never going to compromise on anything. Nothing's going to go out the door that I'm not totally proud of. And then I'll be like, you know what? This one's the worst. Let's just bump that up. Because most of the times I do things in increments of like 2 to 3%, changing the ratios. I was doing like 15% of this one. Let's just do like 45% of this, like really, really bad one. And all of a sudden, like the way that one interacts with everything else, the end result is better. And it's just,
it's so fucking interesting to me.
We realized that we did a little bit of blending ourselves. We took a Weller 12. We took a Weller 12 bottle, right? Because everybody wants Weller 12.
Right.
So it was finished, empty bottle. And we decided, well, we're going to do the worst blend, the shittiest bourbons you could possibly taste, the stuff that's just
all
like
the
makes
gifted
you gag,
stuff,
right?
the bottom of the barrel.
And it's gonna be like a burner bottle. So when somebody's around that's kind of like, maybe they're irritating you, or that guy who's like, yeah, bro, you got any Pappy? You're like, hey, you should try this. How about some Weller 12? It's very close to Pappy,
right.
And we realized we mixed all these horrible bourbons, but the worst one overpowered the whole thing. I forget what it was.
I remember
I remember
what
what it was.
What was it?
It was the local.
Oh, yeah, just murdered it. Like, so it accomplished it. It was bad,
right?
But it ruined the whole.
It ruined the whole thing.
Yeah, it's so funny what you're saying though. Like, I'm wondering. I was going to get into this later, but the marketing machine that is bourbon. Well, I mean all spirits, but specifically bourbon and whiskey.
Right.
It makes sense to me now what you're saying. I assume that's why the marketing came into play when. For years, like you said, you're tasting this one and it's like, this one's just not that good. You know what? Mix it with this. We'll call it whatever. And market the shit. That's what they've been doing. I mean, you see shit that's price point absolutely crazy, and it's double charred, triple oaked, aged in the back of a dump truck. And and it's $200 and you taste it, and because you bought it, you think it's going to be something. Then when you taste it, you're kind of like, you want to look over and you're like, I don't know if I like this, but
Do you like it?
What do you think? It tastes like shit to me.
Well, bourbon's not Scotch. It doesn't have to be expensive to taste good, you know, because generally you're aging it in an environment where you have huge temperature swings, you know, especially Kentucky, or, you know, my stuff's primarily aged in Indiana before I bring it to Vegas. And so you have very cold winters and very hot summers, and we're using new charred oak. In this case, it's number 4 char. Like Scotch, it's used barrels, so a lot of the char has been dumped out, and it's like 50 degrees in the summer and 38 degrees in the winter, and it's very humid. There's not a lot of movement. It takes forever to age. And then also malted barley's insanely expensive grain to use. You know, we're using 51% minimum corn. It's corn subsidies. Corn's cheap. Large grains are cheap. And so the irony is the one we just tried, because it's so soft and so delicate and so gentle, when I give that to inexperienced bourbon drinkers, they think that's the most expensive because it's the smoothest. And that, you know.
I was going to say, it's smooth, it's got the flavor, and there's no burn in the backside.
There's no burn,
It's probably the home run for your guys who are trying to get into it.
Yeah, and it really has sort of crossed over from like the bourbon community to like general consumer, which is what, you know, it's what you need to do if you want to be a real brand. And so people will always ask me, like, when do you know you made it? Was it when that one bottle sold on secondary for this or that? I'm like, no, it's when that was allocated. Because nobody's taking pictures of straight. It's nobody's collecting it. They're going to the store, they're buying it, they're depleting a bottle and going, hey, I really like that, especially for the price point. I want more.
Sure.
And that was
When you're mixing that up or blending that and you make that batch, how much are you able to replicate at that point in time with that?
Oh, pretty well at this point, yeah.
And you can hit it again.
Yeah, I'll keep doing it until yeah. And that the next one we'll try will be the Uncut, the Younger, which is the newest one. And that, you know, talking about the consistency, that was one that I really had to figure out. Oh,
Go ahead, Phil.
I'm going to let him pour because I got my hand slapped on the first one.
Oh, hey, no, I was admiring. That was not a slap.
That's a big
I was
drink.
like,
Dude, it's Friday night.
Yeah.
We usually don't do these on Friday
Yeah,
night.
we usually do these on Thursdays. So it's doing it on a Friday. We can drink all we want.
We can get
It was like
after
Phil's a machine, man. All right.
I'm not drunk, hammered. That's kind of how my tolerance works.
So Uncut, the Younger, this is the newer one, right?
This is newer. I mean, it's been out about a year now, but initially it couldn't do what I wanted it to do because it was limited. And so I wouldn't really call it a misstep, but the only thing that I saw that happened with the straight bourbon, where it was widely accepted by general consumers, but really, like bourbon guys, it was too low proof. And so I was like, okay, well, let's take that and do, cast strength version of it. See if I can do a cast strength, affordable daily sipper. And like here in Illinois, you know, we're doing program with a distributor where this is under $40 now for 116 proof bourbon that hopefully tastes good. You know, I mean, price point's one thing, but if it tastes like dog shit, it doesn't really matter. Like how, and so it took me a second, you know, when you're just talking about consistency, I had to really figure out the philosophy of this, because initially I was sort of blending it I was almost scared because it's called Uncut, the Younger. And when people saw the label approval, there's these guys that search the TTB websites that are looking for like label approvals and everything. And they're like, Uncut, the Younger. Oh my God. Are you guys out of old bourbon? What's going on here? And I was like, no, I want to do an affordable bourbon. And our motto, Vivus Moyen de Mes, it's Seneca the Elder. So I was like, oh, wouldn't this, you know, just kind of play on that. And, so I was like, oh God, I don't know. Is it going to be too young? And so I tried to like make it taste older, and it didn't work having any oak in there because there wasn't enough other flavors to really support it. And it wasn't balanced, and it came across as harsh because most people, they associate tannins as a harshness with ethanol heat when it's not. And so I was just like, you know what? It's going to be cast strength version of that. I'm going to make it accessible. And even if I like it, even if I like the way it tastes, if it's like a little oaky, I'm just going to get rid of that. Just keep hammering at it until everything is really sweet.
How can the novice out there try and identify what they're tasting is the tannins or it's the ethanol heat?
That's tough. I don't know.
Okay.
Burns your eyes.
I'm not a.
Is there a breathe out process? I didn't know. I was
breathe in,
Oh
breathe out.
man, you know, it's like funny, like going back to the beginning where I said, oh, you know, if you like it or you don't, that's all that matters. Like for me to like learn how to pick out flavors, that was out of necessity for like social media and stuff. I never used flavors for my blending. I would just be like, I like this. I don't like this, you know?
perfect. That's all we've ever
Dude, at the end of it, we rate this stuff, and at the end, it's just a buy it or don't buy it because none of that matters.
Yeah.
If it sucks. Like
Yeah.
you said. Like,
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, you know, people poo like 4-year. It's like, well, you guys are going to have cast strength 4-year. Actually, this one, this one's all 4-year. You're either going to like it or you're not. But the important thing is it's affordable. 4-year has a place. Now, if I was doing like, hey, we're doing this bottle of 4-year cast strength and it's $80, well, then you can look at me like I'm an asshole. Like, you know,
you're held to a higher standard at that point.
but the fact that, you know, you make different decisions. Like, this is not answering your question at all.
It's
But-
fine.
If you just keep going in circles, eventually we'll forget what the question was.
But so I always tell people, like, when we first hired consultants, they were like, what's your exit strategy? I was like, what do you mean? What's my exit strategy? And they're like, well, what do you want to do? Like, how long till you sell out? 5 years, 7 years? I was like, I don't want to sell out. I'm leaving the bar business because I'm going to be too old to do that. I have an expiration date where one day I'm going to walk in and people will be like, what are you doing here? You're kind of killing the vibe, old dude, you know? And I'll be like, picking.
This guy's fucking old dude is creepy over
He's creepy over there. Oh, that's the owner. Don't worry about him, you know? Or like picking music for the jukebox and people are like, what is this? This is, you know? And so, but I was like, no one's going to be like, hey, old guy, what do you know about making bourbon? And because I like working and I like being creative. And that was the other problem with the bar business is once I wasn't partying anymore, I was like, there's nothing creative here. I'm just like managing shit. I really like designing them and building them, but and so I was like, I want to do something where I'm in one location shipping out, you know, manufacturing, and I can do it forever, and I'm creative, and I'm always being challenged, you know, and that's why going back to like, oh, well, I like it that it gets really hard to work within the wintertime because it's a challenge.
Sure.
And then the summer, it's like this reward, you know, you're like, like if it was easy all the time, you know,
Get bored with it.
you get bored. And so when you want to do something forever and you're trying to build a legacy.
pouring this.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my story gets better if you drink. Yeah.
Josh has had enough. He needs some bourbon.
Yeah, you know, where you want to build a legacy and you want to be around forever, your decision-making process is totally different. So you don't make decisions to benefit the now. You make decisions for the future. Because if you want to sell, you do stuff that like juices your sales, juices your profits.
Of course.
And when you're planning for the future, you do new fills, as many new fills as possible. And new fills is the hardest thing in the world to scale because you're planning for the future. So you're doing barrels based on what you plan on doing in 4 years, 6 years, whatever. So it's tons of money and you don't get to write any of it off. So you still got to pay tax on it and there's no reward and it hurts. But now the reward is here because now I've got a cast strength bourbon that sells from mid 40s to under 40, depending on what state I am and how big the distributor is and if there's chains and things like that. And I think it's amazing. And
That's cool.
Did you have a flavor profile in mind when you're doing that, or you knew you wanted high proof, 4-year cast strength and make it affordable?
well, I mean, the affordable and the 4-year kind of go
I get you.
hand in hand if it's cast strength. Because like, you know, it's all about the tax. So once you're doing cast strength, like the tax to the federal government on that bottle is like $3.60. Now that we do more than 100,000, you know, anything over 100,000 proof gallons, you get charged.
What are they doing to help you with the whole distilling process? Are they?
They allow me to do it. That's
Big partners.
yeah.
Big thanks to the U.S. government.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like people like like Bottle and Bond or whatever. I'm like, we all have bonded warehouses because all a bond is an insurance policy against your tax. Because if everything catches on fire, or somebody steals it all, your property insurance is going to cover your loss, but the federal government's like, excuse me, that was ours, and it's gone now. So where's our tax? And so
Are they taxing you on what's going into the barrel or what's coming out of the barrel?
what comes out of the barrel? Yeah, every time you dump a barrel, that's your new tax basis. You tell them how much you've lost and what your new tax basis is.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How to track that and
The tax is
report
different
that.
based on the proof.
Yeah, so you're taxed based. Well, you're taxed if you do under 100,000 proof gallons a year, you're taxed like $2.60 a proof gallon, and if you do over 100,000, which we do a lot more than that now, it's $13.20. So a proof gallon is 100 proof. What we would call in the industry a wine gallon, which is a volume measurement. A wine gallon at 100 proof is a proof gallon. So when you look at this and it's like 116 proof, a 6-pack of it is going to be like, 1.2 proof gallons. So each bottle is taxed higher. So yes, long-winded way of saying yes, the higher the proof, the higher the tax per bottle. And so this tax alone is like $3.60 for a bottle. So if I double that for my FOB to a distributor, there's $7-8 right there, and then double it again to retail. There's $16
And
right
then
there.
they're getting the sales tax
Yeah.
off the bottle when it sells. And
Yeah, so
They always win.
so if you want to have a bottle that retails under $40 or whatever, you have to use 4-year because at that amount of tax.
yeah, you just can't do it.
Yeah, and so because the cost of juice is minimal because you have minimum evaporation. Now, if I was going to do a 90 proof, I could do the same cost bottle at like 10 years because the tax is
Sure.
way less.
It's nuts.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I never knew how that whole structure worked.
Yeah, I never realized that the tax and the cost of the juice for the years and all that stuff. That's wild.
Yeah, so there's calculations that you do where it's 10% the first year and 4% every year after that. And so when you do your cost, trying to figure out how much you can sell a bottle for and if you can make profit or not, you factor in the age of the bourbon, how much water goes in, that's going to cut down your cost of bourbon, and then what the proof is.
I like this.
Thank you.
I like the burn, but it's not it's a different burn.
It's a little hot
it's
initially.
Like, yeah, it's like
then
you're
it's
getting
smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's nice and
But
sweet.
it's got a shit ton of flavor.
Tons of cinnamon. Yeah, I mean, because all that stuff, all that beautiful cinnamon and that fruit and all those things, that comes from the grain, and that gets aged out over time. And so, if you like yummy, fruity stuff, there's only 2 ways to do it. Do vintage blend like the next ones we're going to have, or have the younger stuff. And I love this. I think it's amazing.
yeah, I dig that quite a bit.
Can you tell what flavors are going to be in the bottle based on the mix? I'm always blown away. Like you read some of these reviews and like the 573 things that the guy tasted. That like, how do you know what?
I've never had a
tastes
persimmon.
like?
I was going to say, I've never had a persimmon.
or
I just wanna-
starfruit, or
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like somebody whispered coconut over it. Stuff like that.
Like, my palate is obviously not that refined.
that
I have a
sophisticated,
go no go gauge. I think.
Yeah, well, that's fine, but I do like when I do tasting notes or things like that. They're usually pretty rudimentary because I kind of know what people are looking for. They want to know, does it have a lot of oak? Does it? A lot of people don't like cinnamon, so is this one gonna? But this I always want to have like that cinnamon spice and like fruity flavors.
People love caramel too. You start saying caramel, people like caramel.
People like caramel. There's always going to be. There should always be caramel in everything because when you char a barrel, you caramelize
Caramelize
the
the
sugars
wood.
and the
Right.
oak. So
There's something about that when you read the hint of caramel.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, it's like,
oh yeah, I'll probably
I bet
snag.
that's
I never heard of that, but I'll give that a shot. Yeah, it's $200, but I could go for a hint of caramel.
a hint of caramel. Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you know it going in, like based on the mash bill or the age on what it's gonna kind of be in the family of, or is it a crapshoot every time?
No, it's a crapshoot. You never know. I mean, I know that I can get it to taste the way I want it because I have a vast inventory. So if I just had like one location of 4-year, it would be hard because they're all going to be very similar, and the only differentiating factor is going to be the wood because nobody has an oak farm. So all the wood's coming from different places. So that's going to change the characteristics of each barrel. But when I have
All right.
Okay.
Sweet.
Was it not before?
Yeah, it's been recording.
Yeah, this is the backup.
That's the backup.
But
We've been good.
I lost my place. No, but when you have so now, because we've been contract distilling for so long, our inventory is vast. And so when I do something like this, I'm pulling, I promise I won't go over every example of every location, but I have a combination of racked and palletized barrels. The palletized barrels I usually burn through when they're 4 years old because I can't predict how they're going to age. Because when you look at your inventory, it says ground floor because they're stacked on top of each other. But if I'm looking at rack stuff in warehouse G and it's on the 6th floor, I'm like, okay, that's the highest floor. We got to go through that at 4 years old. It's not going to make it. And when stuff is like 2nd, 3rd, or 1st floor, I'm like, oh, that needs to sit. And so when people talk about age, it's all relative. Like I can give you an 8-year off the 6th floor, south wall, in a warehouse that gets tons of sun near a window, and it'll be like drinking wood water. You're gonna hate it, Or I can give you 4-year from that location. You're like, this is beautiful, I love it. But I can give you 4-year from the 1st floor, and you're like, oh, this tastes like it was distilled yesterday. So again, taking forever to answer your question.
No, I'm engaged here. Right?
We're learning.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like most brands are just going to come in. Like you're going to get a robot who's got pre-prepared thing about everybody every day. Everyone dies to bring you the best bourbon in the world, but it's worth the sacrifice, And I'm like, what are you guys? This is fun. I'm living the greatest. My life is amazing. I love doing it. Every aspect of it's amazing. I mean, there are some hard days, but nobody actually dies bringing you
sampling bourbon.
Not like the old moonshine days.
But yeah. But so to answer your question, now that I have so many locations, I know I can figure it out. I know I can get there. Some days are hard, and some days I have to learn all over again, like how different things are going to change it. And even for me, because you were asking about, how can you tell the difference between tannins or heat, or it was you actually. There are still times where I get confused, where it has a harshness. I'm like, oh man, it's too heavy on the young stuff. I got to blend in some older stuff. It's too thin, and it's not. It's the oak, and so it just keeps getting worse and worse. And I'll be like, all right, well, maybe we'll put in some younger stuff, and then that knocks down all the tannins. And what I thought, even after all these years, was like youth, and a thinness from youth was actually a harshness from tannins. And it actually required younger stuff.
That explains why when Basil Hayden's did the toasted, it didn't get any better. It just made it worse because they started with a shitty whiskey, and then they toasted it, and it got even worse. So now I understand.
Good shout out to Basil Hayden's.
We're not going to get a sponsorship from Basil Hayden's. Don't worry.
I don't think anybody likes Basil Hayden.
Even as a mixer, like I'll mix it like with ginger beer as like a mule, and it still sucks. It's like pronounced.
I did it we do these whiskey reviews like every week, and I did it as a joke because we know we always laugh about how bad it is. That's kind of just the go-to.
Didn't it get made Michelin's like bourbon? Like this is the official bourbon of America.
Really? Yeah, like 3 years ago, it got some type of big award of this is the go-to, but it's like the entry level. But it's been so long since I had it. I was like, I'll just do this as a joke. And I forgot how bad it was. Like, it was appalling when I took it. I was like, oh, fuck, it really is bad. I don't have to fake this review.
I shouldn't say it. I mean, I'm another supplier. I don't want them coming after me. But I'm just talking about other people's opinion, not mine.
Exactly.
People regularly tell me they don't like it,
On the working, you said coming out of Indiana, so I assume that's MGP, right?
MGP, yeah.
When people all over the world are getting stuff from them. How does that work? Are you buying a certain amount, and can you pick, I want this many barrels from this? Are you doing an allocation, or they say you're allowed this? I mean, if I'm getting too far into the weeds, then just tell me.
Oh, no. So at this point, no, it's a good thing because
everybody can't want their barrels from the same floor and the same location.
No. So basically, there is no age stuff for the most part anymore. We've been contract distilling since 2015. Now there is some stuff like kind of that I bought that was only a year old back when they would do that. They won't do that anymore. Now if you see stuff, they'll put you on an age agreement where you get to buy it at 4 years for the price. But there was a time where like I could go in and be like, hey, is there any 36% rye, which is the mash bill I use? My sales rep would be like, oh, there's some like 14-month stuff, but nobody wants that. I was like, I want all of it. I want everything. I don't care. He's like, what are you going to do with it? I was like, I don't know. The future, man. You know, like we might need it as we grow. And so right now, I think this is the last year that I'll be using anything that I paid sort of not super premium for. I mean, some of it's stuff that I bought at 4 years for a lot of money. But again, because we're not trying to sell or anything, we can just eat it for a year because I have no marketing or sales reps or anything. And so instead of like, oh, let's make max profits off small batch, I'm sorry, not small batch, but uncut the younger and straight, let's just, whatever, they don't really make a profit for a year, but they'll get established. And then next year, when everything's 100% contract distilled and it makes sense, we'll be ahead of the game. And so, so the way it works is I contract distill or they'll release age stuff to me and I just basically take everything that they tell me, but then it's mine. So I don't pull it in the moment. It just sits in my inventory. And right now we pull 90 barrels a week. And so I just go to Lindsay, who kind of runs everything. She took all the MGP Excel spreadsheets and put them into a better spreadsheet where I can search by age and everything instead of it just being a bunch of lines. And I'll just like look at all my locations and everything. And I kind of have to sort of pre-blend in my head by what I pull for everything except for uncut, unfiltered, which we'll have pretty soon.
Kind of look Goodwill hunting, how you're starting to see the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, if we have an experience with that, I'm like, well, you know what? Like, this stuff was coming in over oak, so maybe I'll pull, like, the third floor, like a lower floor that wouldn't be good on its own, but I know that I'll get flavors or I can use it to cut the oak or things like that. And so, yeah, so I'm like, I'm always pulling my inventory. I'm not, like, trying to buy stuff every week or every month. It's very rare that, like, the stuff I'm buying this year, we planned a year ago, and, you know, we spread it out over the year, but it was just like, hey, do you want this? I was like, yes, I want that. Like, okay, cool. Let's do it over, 4 quarters. I'm like, that's really cool too. So, because I'm not going to pull it all, it's wow. Nice to, but yeah, it's, we do a lot with them. I think we're probably their biggest client outside of like the big corporate brands.
That's cool.
How do you plan for future growth with the age that it takes to lead up to making this stuff? I mean,
faith. You just got to have faith, man.
Just caution to the wind.
I do everything by gut instinct, honestly. Yeah, I just like, even when I did Uncut the Younger, I was like, man, we got to do this. And then my business partner was like, why? I was like, I can't explain it. It's just, I can see it. And we got to do this. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And then in like 4 months ago, I was like, Uncut the Younger is getting all fucked up because it's limited and it's too expensive. We're going to miss a window and everything's going to be ruined. We can't wait until October when we have 4-year barrels. I'm going to put 3-year in it. And he's like, what? I was like, I'm going to put 3-year in. He's like, aren't all the haters? I'm like, I was like, no, it's going to be okay. I can just tell people are going to appreciate it because we'll be able to do programming and get the price down. Like if I was gonna be like, I'm putting 3-year in it and now it's $70, then like people would be like, oh, well, thanks. We hate you now. But I was like, look, I'm putting 3-year in it. I guarantee you it's going to taste good. The 3 years were actually better than the 4 years, which really pissed me off, especially in the wintertime, because I was like struggling with these 4 years. And then I like got these 3 years like, oh, these are beautiful. That's really cool. Great. Awesome. And I did to show you how everything's changed. Like I did two posts. One was like, hey, I'm going to put 3-year in this. There's going to be a 39-month age statement on the back. And then in October, it'll be all 4-year again. But I'm doing it because I think that everybody really wants an affordable cask strength bourbon, and thinking about waiting till October fills me with anxiety, and doing it now does not, even though it's 3-year. And like everybody was like, oh man, this is so great. This is why we love you. You're like looking out for us. And I was like, okay, if that was 2 years ago, everyone would have been like, this brand is dead. it's over. They're putting 3-year stuff in there now. It's like
You had to get the
Build the reputation.
Yeah.
You had to get the clout. You
yeah.
had to-
Well, and also like the economy's different, and people are buying what they're drinking now. They're not really buying to collect anymore. And then at the same time, I did the post for a rare and limited Winter Oak, which I haven't done a rare and limited in a year and a half. 2 years ago, people were like, I'm on the hunt. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna get it. So it's super premium, old top tier of what we do. Everyone's like, oh, who gives a shit? I'm never gonna find it. You're an asshole. It's gonna be too much money. Oh, retailers are gonna overcharge. Who cares? Oh, it's gonna be so much. Blah, blah. It's like all negative, and like it's all like kind of switched, and that's sort of what I saw. Like even when I did straight, I was like, all this is gonna end. And people are going to go back to like buying what they're drinking, and we need to be there. And so that's new fills and, yeah.
Not to derail all the detail stuff, but when you talk about like the brand and the marketing strategy, because for me, I just simply saw it on the shelf and I was like, Smoke Wagon, oh, that's a cool ass bottle. Never heard of these guys. And this was years ago,
Right.
So I think I got that unfiltered, right? Because I generally look for the most, like, if I'm looking for something like it's expensive, it's probably good. I'll give it a shot, right? So I grabbed that, but it was solely, I pulled it because of the name in the bottle,
Right.
So what was the thought process? Where'd the name come from? Where'd the style of the bottle come from? Did you try to like make it somewhat exclusive to get it out there, or did you just flood that shit out there? And
Well, no, I mean, okay. So first of all, the bottle came from the vodka Silver Dollar, which is where it all began, because we started this process in 2008 when premium vodka was like huge. And they told me that we got permission from United States Treasury to trademark the Morgan Silver Dollar, which was minted in Carson City, because all the silver coming out of the Comstock lode in Nevada. And I want everything to be Nevada and Old West, because that's what I love about the West. It's the Old West, like the history of water and the old Spanish. Oh, we should probably open that one. I think it's time.
It is time.
I
Is that the
I
next
was
one?
admiring the
my
bottle.
glass has got a whole
Is that the
small
next
batch.
in line?
That's the next one. Yeah.
All right, someone else open it.
So this is small batch. So we're going to take a trip down in proof. We're going down to 100 proof, but we're going to go up in age, and so the complexity will increase. But yes,
Like a great tour guide.
we're taking a tour.
Is there any fucking cinnamon or caramel in it?
There is definitely cinnamon and caramel in it, and we are taking a journey through proof in time. So this is where it all began. This is got 4-year, 6-year, and 7-year in it. I rarely go over 7-year with this because it starts getting too oaky, and I want it to still be like, it's a step up. I want it to have some oak. I want it to have some complexity, but I also want it to be accessible. And so the vodka bottle, I actually had to build that, do a 3D model of it, because they told me it couldn't be done. So coming from the bar business, I'm going to finish one of these sentences. I swear.
Yeah.
coming from the bar business, and like when craft stuff blew up, I would have these guys bring these bottles to me, and I'm like, "What do you want me to do with this?" And it would be like some weird shaped bottle. And I'm like,
Pour it out of the side.
yeah, like takes up ton, like short and squat. I'm like, this will take up the space of 2 bottles on the back bar, and your bottle looks like shit. And they're like, yes, but we made it. I'm like,
Still looks like shit.
Yeah. I'm like, so let me get this straight. I got a bartender. He or she is busting their ass. It's busy. You expect them to take time out to say, hey, you should try this. And then they're going to hand a customer that shitty bottle and go through the whole story about how you made it. And you expect them to look at that bottle that contains alcohol, and they're going to trust the contents.
And it's either like a skull or an AK-47 shape, right? There's a
No,
vodka.
no, this was bourbon and whiskey. But back then, no, it was like apothecary style bottle. It would just say like, like everything was like, American typewriter and just very simple.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, no one's going to want that, man. And so, so it's hard to say, because even the bars, like the bar in Vegas, when I designed that, that's where I learned this 3D design program. And that thing, it was like totally over designed. Like, you can smoke in bars in Vegas. And I was like, okay, it's got to have a cozy feel, but we got to have room for the smoke to go. And so I'm going to design these brick arches. So when you walk in, all you're going to see is the bottom of the arches, but there's going to be all this negative space for the smoke to go up. And so, like, I bought this big book on brick architecture, and I saw the Gaudi Ghoul Colonnade Crypt in Barcelona. I was like, oh man, that's really cool. I wonder if we can do that. And I had a hard time with it until I realized that it was just, he had created this architectural structure. And once I got a grasp of the architectural structure, I was like, okay, I can figure out how to do it. And so I've always really wanted to get into it and design stuff, but also coming from the bar business, and I knew that like you said, people got to see it and they want it. They want to ask for it. Like, what is that? You're ahead of the game. If you're trying to like force something on somebody, they're already on their back foot, you know? And then I saw a bottle of Four Roses that had roses all over it from like the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so when I was doing the bottle design to show that you could in fact put this Morgan silver dollar in the front of a round bottle and not have it touch each other on an assembly line, I incorporated all the desert sage on the bottle and everything. And then, so the Morgan was the currency of the Old West. And when it came time to do the bourbon, I looked at this Old West slang online dictionary. And I knew I either wanted it to be like alcohol or guns. And
what else?
Yeah. And I really wanted it to be guns because I was like, man, a logo with cross guns is going to be awesome. I love it. And so like I was looking at the alcohol ones, it was like family disturbance, wife beater, you know. I was like, oh man, I don't think these are very good. I don't think we should go the alcohol route for the Old West slangs.
The wife beater straight bourbon whiskey would be pretty cool. Down in Alabama,
that's a tough sell,
family
right?
disturbance, yeah.
Special edition.
And then a lot of the gun stuff was like too obvious, too on the nose, like, you know, Peacekeeper or whatever.
Sure.
And then I saw Smoke Wagon and
Skin that smoke.
yeah,
wagon.
see, that was the thing. My business partner knew the line. And so when I went down the list, you know, of all the ideas, he was like, what do you think about Smoke Wagon? I was like, dude, it's my favorite. And I got the logo pictured. It's going to be sick. And he recited the line from Tombstone. I was like, well, maybe it's not as obscure as I think. And we were like, okay, well, what's the negatives going to be? You know, okay, the negative will be people will think it's smoky. Right. Well, that's easy. Just let them drink it. And then they'll be like, oh, it's not smoky. It's not like some obscure, like abstract thing, like where you're like, oh, it's for, I don't know, you know, it's bourbon for horses. No, it's not really. It's for humans. You know, you're not like trying to like convince them. It's like, it's a very, and so I wanted to do an amber bottle because that's the way all the Old West bourbon was. And it just made sense to go with the vodka because everybody had a Morgan's in their pockets and a Colt single action army revolver on their hip. And everybody told me that I couldn't do amber bottles, and everybody told me I couldn't have guns on the bottle. And we were like, why? And like, well, because nobody does it that way. And I was like, I don't think
even
that's
more reason.
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, there's a 50-50 chance I'm a fucking idiot and I don't get it.
Or I'm a genius.
Or I'm a genius. Only time will tell. And my business partner, he's very smart. He got a perfect LSAT score. So he agrees with me. So, you know, hey, maybe we're on to something. So we just rolled with it. And that was sort of the thing, like with small batch here, which I'm going to try. Now, this was the first one. And this is where I discovered vintage blending. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I only had 4-year and 8-year at the time. And the reason I did it was because in 2012, when we first went to MGP, we bought 5-year bourbon. It was the last of the Seagram's barrels when Seagram's built that distillery. And I loved the 5-year. But what I didn't know back then was that, you know, you're trying barrels. And so I didn't know about location or anything. And so we didn't like the 6-year. But that was like 1 barrel 6-year. We should have just bought all of it, but we only bought the 5-year because, like, this is really delicious. We really like the rice pie. I don't even know if we said we would like the rye spice because we didn't pick out flavors or anything back then. But so we were going to dump it into these big giant tanks. And the fire department from the city of Las Vegas never approved these big giant tanks. And 3.5 years goes by. And all of a sudden, this new distillate we bought from MGP was turning 4 years old. And the 5-year was 8-year. And so these consultants, again, that were the ones that told me I couldn't do amber and I couldn't put guns on it. And they're like,
Sounds like they were good consultants.
oh, they were great, man. And then, so, I mean, the thing is, it's like, are there any good ones? Like, I couldn't even consult someone how to do it because you got to figure it out. If you know, it's like,
fuck it up a few times.
yeah. And I can't be like, oh, do like what I did, you know,
Right.
You need a time machine because the timing it just worked. You know, a lot of it, like the timing was perfect. It was kind of perfect. And, so I tried to do what they told me, which was, they were like, what you should do is release small batch. They said I could blend to make it taste like a 5-year, and I tried, and it was terrible. And then the other thing they told me was what I should do was release small batches in 8-year, and then use the 4-year to step it down, because that's what that's how like non-age statement bottles got a bad reputation. Is they would come out with like a non-age statement bottle with like 8-year in it, win a bunch of awards, and then step it down to, yeah, it's not because it didn't have a non-age statement, because they're blending and trying to create a proprietary flavor.
It wasn't going to stay that age.
It wasn't going to, yeah. It was
direction.
Yes, exactly. So they were like, you don't want a non-age statement bottle. You want to put you don't want your 8-year in a non-age statement bottle. You want to do 8-year and then 4-year in a day in something else. I was like, well, then what am I doing? I'm not creating anything. This is exactly what everybody hates on source bourbon for. I mean, now it's different. My 4-year, I've got like 7 locations of 4-year. It doesn't taste like anything else, but when you have one location, it's like, we're not doing anything. And so we fired everybody and blended up that 4 and 8-year. It took me 3 years. I'm sorry, 3 years, 3 days to get it right. And I couldn't tell you, oh, I was doing it for this, so it had cinnamon. I just did it till I liked it. And I was like, I really like it. I actually like it better than anything else. So I think I'm bringing something unique to the market that's superior in flavor profile. And, we won a gold medal at San Francisco World Spirits Competition, kind of back when that meant something. And then our distributor picked us up.
Well, you can see it in the branding. You can see it in the apparel. You can see it just talking to you, and you can taste it in the product. What you just said was we fired everybody and said, we're just going to, you didn't even have, you just did it till you liked it.
Yeah.
That right there means everything.
Yeah.
Of not trying to worry about, like, Phil asked earlier, like, what do you do about, preparing for the future and all that stuff? You gave a more, like, kid-friendly response of faith and all that stuff. It took huge fucking balls is what it takes. And trust in the fact of, I'm good, if I like it, that's all I can do. I can't put out something that I don't like and hope that somebody else likes it. Right. I just hope that people like the same things I like, and at least you like it.
Yeah,
that's all that.
Yeah,
and
that was my problem in 2021. In 2021, there was so much hype behind the brand that I second guessed everything. Where I was like, okay, someone is going to be trying this for the first time. Are they going to like it? Is it good enough? And I would work too hard, especially on the uncut unfiltered blends. And people are like, oh, when are the best blends? I'm like, 2022 and 2023, because I was just like, you know what? I like this, and I am not compromising in any way. And if someone doesn't like it, hey, our palates don't align. But I'm not like trying to hustle anybody. I'm not putting out what I consider to be an inferior product. I worked on this, and it's as good as I want. I like it, so here it is. And I just kind of got relaxed about the process. And so what do you think about small batch?
I dig it, and it's a little smoother than the.
Yeah, because it's got the it has. I mean, it's lower proof.
It's not for me.
It's okay. That's
it's not smoother for me. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
You might be oak sensitive because it's going to have 6 and 7 year in it, so it's going to be a little oakier.
That's what I was going to go try this one and see. I'm more trying to learn.
The uncut, the younger is a standout for me. I was digging that.
I
like the little burn.
Yeah,
I like the high proof of it,
and the price point's ridiculous. I mean, uncut the younger. I don't know, man. I'm very happy because there's nothing in that category that's like.
I like it's thicker, like thicker viscosity in the uncut the younger than the small batch.
Oh
to
yeah,
me.
yeah, because there's no water, so it's going to have more fat. because nothing's chill filtered, so everything's got all its lipid esters, all its fats. It's going to insulate your palate from the
I'm
heat.
sensitive to that.
That's what's going to give you that thick mouthfeel.
Yeah, you
I like the
generally like a thicker mouthfeel.
Yeah, and no, you make sure you always want to make sure you say it has a thick mouthfeel, and not that it feels thick in your mouth. That's
I do like the thicker
Hey,
mouth.
tell us more about that.
I do.
everybody does. Don't feel bad.
That's there's nothing bad about the
No, it's good.
small batch.
It is good.
So the thing
Coming
I really liked about small batch living in Las Vegas is even though it's 100 proof, that is my favorite one to have on ice in the summertime.
I could see
because
that.
the way it opens up, it's so fruity and doesn't get too one dimensional. Even uncut the younger, even though it's higher proof, because it doesn't have the older stuff in it, it gets like really sort of almost like apple juice, just like one dimensional sweetness. Because the heat is what gives it the complexity.
Gotcha.
And kind of the same with like regular uncut. I don't like regular uncut on ice, but man, small batch in an insulated mug on ice, neck deep in the pool when it's 115 degrees with a cigar in one hand and that guy in the other.
Go-to, huh?
Oh
I would assume in summertime in Nevada, you've got a difficult time drinking stuff neat.
Yeah. If you look at like,
It's coming out at a buck
It's
10.
like coffee, man.
well,
It's scorching
the funny
hot.
thing is like I'm looking at this podcast room, and I was telling everybody, I was like, what I need to do is I need to go rent a space to store all my cars and like build a room, because I haven't been doing the uncut out of the bottle reviews because this winter was too cold, and now it's like it's too warm because I would do it in the middle of the day. I don't want to go sit outside. Even now when it's not even 100 yet, it's only like 98 out there, and I'm like, I don't want to sit outside.
Yeah,
It's
a tough
okay.
climate,
It's okay in the morning, and it's okay like as the sun starts to set. But
What's the proof on the uncut the younger? Uncut the younger.
I think that one's like 116 something like that.
And then what's the proof on small batch?
100.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what going back to oak and tannins.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
Because that's 100 proof hits me harder
Yeah.
than the 116.
It's the tannins, probably very sensitive to tannins, most likely.
I'm tannin
You
sensitive.
have a sensitive palate.
Yeah.
This is good.
But you're
So,
I'm very sensitive to tannins.
are you?
Oh yeah. Like I'll be working on something and I let everybody try it. They're like, this is ready. I'm like, you can't taste that like bitter, that like little bit of, black tea sort of bitterness. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? But I can. And so
Before we get to the next one, I want to know, we've kind of gone all over the place, which is good. That usually means we're having a good conversation. You talked about the bar. You talked about your business partner. Take us back to that part. I mean, where was your first bar at?
it was in LA in Eagle Rock near Pasadena.
Did you grow up in L.A.?
No, I was born in North Carolina.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I was born in North Carolina, and then we moved up to South Jersey to Cherry Hill to go to public school because my parents didn't have enough money to send us to private school, and the public school system there sucked. But he hated it, and he said I was growing up a rude Yankee. And so every summer I would either go to Western North Carolina, like Pisgah Forest, where a friend of his had a camp, and I would go to that camp even though I was too young. Like I started going when I was in like third grade, and everybody was older than me. But my mom became a counselor, so I could do that. And then his parents got older. Then we'd spend our summers in North Florida.
And then what brought you to L.A.?
I worked in the film business. I went to film school. Out of film school, I became a construction laborer. It was the best experience of my life.
That's usually like the go-to coming out of film school, right?
You got to go straight into the construction industry?
No. Usually, so basically, I did an internship, and the producer, it was on this movie called Boxing Helena, and the producer was the alumnus from my school, and he sued Kim Basinger for not doing the movie, saying that she was the reason it failed, and so he was no longer like in that industry, and so I moved to Atlanta, where that movie was. And I was supposed to get a job as a van driver, but that movie went union. And so it's funny, man. I remember when I was doing the internship on that movie, I was helping the construction foreman haul his tools to his truck. And he was like, "You're a good worker. You ever want a job, I'll hire you." And I was like such a cocky little shit. I was like, "Oh, look, I'll ever do construction. I'm gonna be a filmmaker." And like they had an Atlanta premiere for the movie, and I saw the foreman and the construction coordinator, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing this miniseries, Oldest Living Confederate Widow Tells All. You know, they're gonna hire me as a painter's assistant." And then I showed up, and he's like, "No, you are a construction laborer." And like, man, that it was filmed in Madison, Georgia. And the whole thing I did was cover the city in dirt because it was a Civil War era movie or TV miniseries. And Madison, Georgia looked exactly the way it did since the Civil War. And everybody had a story why Sherman didn't burn their house down, whether it was like he had a nephew that lived there, or they had like their slaves kill all the chickens and make food for the Union soldiers or something. So it's like the only existing town between Atlanta and Savannah that survived. And the historic society didn't want us going through with trucks spreading the dirt. So they had me do it, and they would drop it in two-ton piles. And I learned there's a technique to everything.
Of course.
Okay, because like I'm just spreading dirt, you know, and like even working in the shop, they're like, I was, you know, sweeping, and the guy's like, "You were sweeping all wrong. You're like getting dust everywhere. You got to do it like this to keep all the dust down and everything." And spreading dirt, I learned that if I used a grain shovel and I swung it off my hip and used my hip as a lever, I could do these like 1-inch strips, the entire like width of the street, with minimal effort. And like they dropped me off in this alley, and they're like, "We'll pick you up for lunch, and after lunch we'll give you a helper." And I was done an hour before they showed up, and you know, and they're like, "Okay, you're on the next one." And I earned this like
You're the
best dirt spreader.
I was the best dirt spreader, and I was like, and that's how it went.
Did you have to clean up the dirt afterwards?
No, they allowed. Yes, actually, we had to shovel it up, and then a street sweeper would come. It was great. And then so then after that, I did this movie, Nell, with Jodie Foster, and that was actually near where I went to camp. That was in Western North Carolina.
I remember that movie.
Yeah, Fontana Lake. This guy Gene, who, you know, that was a TVA project, and so he lived in the city that was in the bottom of the lake.
Tennessee Valley Authority, for those that didn't come from the South.
Yeah, so he lived in the city at the bottom of the lake. And he would, like, we'd be on the pontoon boat, and he'd be like, "This is where the church used to be, right here, and then over here." And so the art director of the movie was like, "Hey, I want everything to look like it came out of the forest. And so we're going to go collect all these rocks to build this cabin, to build the foundation wall for the cabin." And they kept promoting me and like making me like a labor foreman, but I would work the speed of my crew. And so they just figured, you know what? I swear I'm going to get to the point of why I moved to LA.
No, you're good. Dude, this is fucking awesome.
We are along for the ride.
Yeah. So they would they were like, "You're not working with anybody," and they would just put me on a pontoon boat with Gene, ship me out, and I would fill the pontoon boat up with rocks. And then we'd take the rocks to the masons, and they'd be like, "These are all coals, except in their Appalachian accent. Why don't you just go to the quarry and get some rocks we can use? This is stupid." And I was like, "Welcome to the film business, guys. This is it. This is how it's going to be." The production designer who went to Yale or Harvard or whatever with Jodie Foster, this is what he wants. I'm just some asshole who's got to get on a pontoon boat and go collect these things in February in Western North Carolina, okay? Like, don't look at me. And, man, it was hard. Like, it was hard labor. And coming from, like, growing up in South Jersey, and, like, my dad was, I never had to do anything like this. And I'd never, like, really been tested. And, like, we had this young kid, Junior. I mean, I was 22. I turned 23 on that. But he was, like, fresh out of high school. He was this big basketball player. And we would have to push boulders in a wheelbarrow up this, like, boardwalk that was up a hill. And so you had to, like, turn your feet sideways to get in between the slats, you know, because there was no traction. And I just push it up this hill, and he would get so mad because he was, like, younger and bigger than me, and he couldn't do it as fast as I could. And you know, I was, like, cutting down trees to build trails. And and hauling like hay around.
Dude, how many times does that come, like in your profession now, you know, owning the business that you do, how many times does that come up in conversation where somebody's bitching about like what they're doing? You're like, yeah, I had to fucking push boulders uphill. You realize I'm cutting down tree pushing fucking boulders uphill.
Yeah, pushing boulders uphill.
And you're going to complain about that.
The life lesson that I actually got from that is I met 3 guys. There was my good friend Eric, who I ended up working for. I got my commercial driver's license to work for him. At that time he was a picture bike captain and then became a what do you call it? Transportation? He was a picture bike coordinator and became a captain. When he got sucked under a roller, paper roll, working at a paper mill in Oregon. Oh. And he was in the hospital for a year. Sure. And they went to amputate his leg like 7 times. And each time they're like, it's still alive. And it was, like from his knee down, it was like totally fucked up, like gnarly. It was just like bone with skin on it. It was a trip. And I met this guy, Dave, who got run over by a boat. And
God damn, dude.
Yeah. And then we met in this other guy. I can't remember his name anymore.
Lieutenant Dan?
No. But we called him we called him something half hand because he was working a joiner in a lumber mill in North Carolina. And
he halved his hand?
It got his hand stuck in the joiner. And because he had gloves on with Velcro strap. And it caught his strap. Yeah. And when he pulled his hand out, he could see like all his fingers, but it was just skin. So anyhow, that's not the worst part of the story. So the life, I'll tell you. So the life lesson was, you know, it's like, man, it can always be worse. Like, you know, I was young and I was like, oh my God, I went to film school and here I am like hauling shit around like boo hoo. And it's like, you know, you just gotta, anything can change at a moment's notice. And I gotta have perspective and like appreciate what I have and stop like bitching about the stuff I don't have. And, you're having more Uncut the Younger.
Yeah, I'm digging this one. You want to hit that?
I'll do a little bit. I'm trying to pace myself after my initial pour. I went big.
Phil got after it on the first one.
So the guy that lost half his hand, when he was in the hospital, his wife came to him and she was like, this whole thing made me realize like how, I'm not going to try to do a fake Southern accent. This whole thing made me realize like how precious life is and how much I love you. We should get married. So they get married, and because North Carolina is a very pro lumber state, he didn't get shit. He didn't get any money at all. And he had to go back to work. And so he went to work driving these things that pull logs around in Washington State. His dad calls him and says, hey, there's a car at your house every night. I think you should come home. So he comes home and like finds some dude with his wife. And I remember he was like, I did $15,000 of hospital bills with one hand, and his wife thought he was gonna kill her. And so she confessed that she only married him thinking he was going to get all his money for the accident.
He didn't get settlement.
And he didn't get any money. And so, like, yeah, I was like, man.
Dude, if I lost a hand, I'd be looking for a wife quick, too.
Depends on which hand.
Yeah. But, yeah, you know, it was all part of, like, but yeah.
If my left, I'd be fine. No big deal.
But it was good. It was very humbling.
How do you use the mouse?
It was like humbling and sort of confidence building at the same time, because here I thought I was going to have this trajectory in life, and I was, you know, standing up to my waist literally in mud while Jodie Foster, Liam Neeson, and Michael Apted walked by, and I'm just like, oh, cool. You know, like I thought I was going to be like making movies or whatever, and but that's why Jonathan and I get along so well, because my next job, I am going to move to LA eventually. My next job I got my commercial driver's license, and I became a Teamster and drove the hair and makeup trail around. And I took care of all the stars trailers, and like everybody's like, you seem too smart to be doing this. Why are you driving trucks? You know, I was like, oh, well, I went to film school. You want to see my student film? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. And I show it to them. Like, this is great. You should show this to somebody. I'm like, what the fuck do you think I'm doing now?
I'm showing you.
I'm showing you. And they're like, oh, no, we're friends. You know, we can't. Oh, no. I'm like, yeah, we're fucking friends. Right. Okay, sure. Yeah, we're going to be best pals after this movie's over, you know. And I just was like, I moved to LA because I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I really got to try to do it. I moved to LA and I became like a set PA and a cast driver. And I was like, it's all just bullshit. Now I'm not making any money. And I just hated it. And I had this buddy, this friend of mine, I guess, he's very open about his past, but it's not up to me to talk about it, so I won't mention his name. But he was one of the first people in LA that learned how to cook speed into glass. And this was before I met him. Like, I met him when he was sober, okay? Yeah. And so he paid a Samoan dude from Hawaii to teach him. And he used to sell to, like, all the stars. And then his, business partner, Joanna, would rollerblade all around. This is like, early 90s.
Oh, hell yeah.
When I was out humping boulders, I would rollerblade all around Boys Town and stuff and sell speed to, like, all the gay hookers and the tranny hookers and stuff. Well, apparently there's a lot of antiques in the tweakers, and they trade them for speed.
Antique?
Yeah, like real antiques.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I met him, because I moved to LA and I was like trying to find cool stuff for my house. I was like, that place looks cool.
What an unlikely place to find it.
Yeah. and so when I met him, he had been sober for a month, and we became friends. And he hurt his back, and I helped him with move his store and set up his store, and like I made it look really nice. He was like, dude, we should do a store together. And I was like, I don't know, film business, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, fuck the film business, fuck these people. I'm not working for anyone ever again. I will be broke and do my own thing before I work for anyone ever again. And I got my wish. I was totally broke for like for a long time. But free. Yeah, I felt like I was in control of my own destiny. And also, I stopped being so precious about everything, because when I was in the film business, or that was what I wanted to do, I was like, okay, well, I got to do this. And if this doesn't happen, it's like, oh, why? But once I was like, I wasn't, pardon me, I didn't care about that anymore. It was just like opportunities would come up, like, yeah, sure, let's do that. Like, fuck it, whatever. Like, it didn't matter. As long as it wasn't like, oh, I have to do this, and if this doesn't work out, I'm going to feel bad about myself, which is totally stupid and like, losing perspective, even though I thought I had it. And yeah, so like I did the store with Barry, and then I met this guy who was buying this piece of property, and he didn't have enough money, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it with you, even though I didn't know where I was going to get the fucking money. I was just like, fuck it, let's do it. And then I sold out of that, and I used that money to do my first bar. And this is uncut and filtered, by the way. I don't know if you're going to like this, Josh. We'll see, because it's going to be the oakiest. But this is like the flagship bourbon.
Dude, you hear about all these like presidents and vice presidents and all these political guys writing books that you're like, who the fuck reads those books? Dude, you need to write a book.
Yeah.
That's a book. I don't read anything.
Right.
I would read
It'd be
that.
an audio book.
Yeah, I would read. Yeah, if we
My
can get it
main
on tape.
takeaway, though, is most of the people, you either meet a lot of people that have gotten hurt, or after you meet them, they get hurt.
I'm a little nervous.
No one's
right
gotten
now,
hurt
dude.
after I met them.
All right, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, it's always before. But yeah, so I did that property, and then I didn't really like my business partner, and I sold out. And I used that money to do a bar. And when I did that first bar, it was not like ego, like, oh, to do bar and be the guy. I was just like, what can I do next? And I was going to do another like real estate deal, but I knew a guy from my store that was a real estate guy. And he was like, look, I don't mean to sound like a dick, but he's like, I'm rich. I've got 5 real estate deals going on. If one gets held up, I'm like, whatever. He's like, you've got one chunk. I would not do that. And so I started talking to this bar guy I knew who's always walking past my store. I said, hey, Will, how much does it cost to do a bar? And he like told me, and I was like, okay. By the way, there's a whole other side.
Will lost his leg. He's got a wooden leg.
All right, he said some stuff
Will.
I didn't like, and next thing you knew, he lost an arm. No. So Will said, so what happened was we approached this building like we were buying a house, and the landlord did it too, because he owned not the landlord, but the owner. He let us buy it like we're buying a house with like nothing down, He carried the note And so we're like, yeah, and we're going to upgrade all the tenants and then we'll refinance. We'll get all this money. And I was like, yeah, and I get the way from you fucking assholes, the guy and his wife that I had it with. And then I started calling around about loans and they're like, oh, no, that's commercial property. You can only get 65%. So even with your increased value, like now you can pay off your loan. Now you're safe. And I was like, oh, well, that's not the deal. I want to sell. And so I told the guy I owned it with, I was like, I want to sell because I want money and I want to keep moving. This is not what I want to do. And he was like, yeah, I want to sell too. And so I went to this guy about the bar and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And he told me how much money I would make if I did a bar. I was like, that sounds great. I want to do that. And so we went and like found a bar and like signed the paperwork. And then the guy that owned the building with, because I knew someone that wanted to buy the building, like right away, like, you know, all cash, 30-day escrow, whatever. And then my business partner was like, I don't want to sell anymore. I was like, why not? He's like, well, my wife doesn't want to sell. And it's really, the down payment was her mom's money. And so I kind of have to do what she wants to do. I was like, well, it's a little late now. You know, I was like, well, that's cool. Find more money and buy me out. I'm gone. He's like, well, we'll give you like this. I was like, it's not really my value. My value is this. And he was like, you know, I was always very nice. And so they just thought, hey, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to fucking sue you, dude. Like, I'm not.
I'm nice. I'm just not that.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm not being a dick here. I'm not asking for more than, I'll even take a hit, but not as big a hit as you're talking about. I'm going to be fair. And they wouldn't do it. And so so it was like this whole year where I was in escrow on the bar and in litigation with my business partner. And I shit you not, okay? This is real. I swear to God. I got the money. So the escrow agent for the bar fucked everything up, and that's why it took a year. The day at 11 a.m., I got the money. We settled our lawsuit, and I got the money wired to my account. That same day at 1 p.m., the escrow agent for the bar said, we finalized everything. You got to wire money right now. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Damn it.
2 hours.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's some phenomenal timing.
Yeah, it was nuts, and I've had a lot of experiences like that. But I fully believe in the story of Job. You know, where you never see yourself as a victim. You just keep forging ahead. You don't let this stuff get you down, and you'll be rewarded. It's when you know.
Yeah.
What did you know about running a bar when you started to build the bar?
I knew nothing, but the irony is that I built the bar because of my history in construction, the film business, and we hired these two guys. One was a contractor. I'm sorry, one he knew how to build stuff, and the other guy was a plasterer, and he didn't know how to do shit. And so I was like, I'm firing him, and I'm going to go buy tools, and I'm going to build this bar myself. So the one guy was like, okay, this is what we need to do so it doesn't fall down and kill everybody. I was like, okay, you do that, and then I'll make it.
I'll make it cool,
and then I'll make it cool. And everything from that job that I did in construction, like when they finally like, okay, you can't be a laborer anymore. We have to, like, if we're gonna give you this much money, you have to start doing carpentry. And so I knew how to build fake beams, and I knew how to do all this stuff. And so I built everything in the space, except for the stonework. I didn't know how to do that, so we hired guys for that.
What a fucking story. Like, honestly.
Yeah, dude.
No bullshit.
You've got a wild story.
It's been an amazing adventure. Yeah.
I'm intrigued by the bar thing, too. That's always been one of those things where it's like, I know it's a shit ton of work. And a
it's just the reward isn't there anymore.
Of time, but it's part of me is always like, man, that'd be a cool thing to do. Because, you know,
if you kept it small and didn't give a shit about money.
That's what it would be. Like a hangout.
Solid business.
I mean, well, that's
small and don't care
right.
about money. Just
that's
shovel it in.
That's kind of how we started this
you
business.
You won't really shovel it in, but don't. It's not like the old days. It's not like smartphones ruined it. Nobody gets crazy anymore. Nobody gets wild.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Nobody's dancing on the bar.
You just need those lead bags at the entry where you drop all the phones in.
What you need is they got to legalize cocaine.
Yeah.
And then you give that. The kids can handle it. They're young. You know.
They've got strong immune systems. Or like, yeah.
That's gonna be a soundbite. Right?
No, but that's been one of those things where like I put myself into check when I think, because I'm like, man, that's a shit ton. Like late hours, it's a ton of work.
Yes,
I know, but
late hours.
And you're gonna get high off your own supply.
yeah, I know, but at the same time,
day.
I'm like, man, I love bourbon. I like vintage bourbons. There's some cool places in the city. I love to have something that's like local, that's kind of like that, small, not focused on the profit, which I don't focus on the profit on anything. So
I mean, you'd have
Can confirm.
you'd have to find an operator, and
That's
give
what
them-
I need, yeah.
and give them the sweat equity
right.
But it's not like the glory days. Where
What was moving back then?
vodka?
Vodka.
Oh yeah,
That was the
vodka and like Patron.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Shots of
but
Patron.
3/4 of our glasses were martini glasses. It was all like Cosmos, Washington apples.
That's exclusively what Josh drinks when we go out.
What was lemon drop? Is that
Lemon drops, yes.
Shots, yeah.
Blueberry lemon drops, chocotinis.
You ever had an Alabama Slamma?
No.
That was big in
SoCo and
college.
lime shots for the
SoCo.
Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah.
was big.
Or
What alcohol is SoCo? Nobody really knows.
It's a liqueur. I think it's a whiskey
Southern
liqueur.
Comfort's a liqueur.
Yeah, it's only like 70%, and it's got sugar in it, and yeah, I'm
I know it
sorry.
makes you throw up and
Learn something new every day.
But I met Jonathan at the bar, and he walked in the bar. He's like, "This bar is perfect. This is like," and I was not getting along with my business partner because just ego on his part. Like I would have all these suggestions and everything. He'd be like, "No, you're an idiot." I was like, "Okay." And then the next day, he'd be like, "I have an idea. We should do this." I'm like, "That's literally what I said yesterday, and you told me I was an idiot." Like
It sounds different now.
Yeah,
though.
and he was like, "You have a funny way of remembering things." I was like, "No, I don't.
I just remember things.
I just remember." Yeah, and then all of a sudden, I found out. Like, I'd meet his bartenders. Were like, everything he does was my idea. I was like, "That's really funny," because like everything we're doing was my idea, and he told me I was an idiot. And
gotta marinate for
yeah, and Jonathan was like, "I would love to do a bar," and I had just heard about the. And so at that time in LA, you had to buy an existing bar. You could not.
Get a liquor license.
You couldn't turn a retail space into a bar, and so they were like gold. So first you had to buy a space, and then you had to spend money to renovate it. Nobody does that anymore because there's just not enough money in the bar business to do that. And I was like, well, there's this deal going on in Vegas where they're trying to turn Fremont Street into like nothing but bars, so they're going to remove gaming because gaming is the thing that causes, because all the casinos have lobbied for parking and separation and everything, because a bar would come with 15 machines. If you have a whole street of bars next to each other, it's a casino.
Yep.
And so there's going to be no gaming, and so we don't have to buy a bar. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was like, let's do it. Yeah, cool. All right. I mean, that's like everything I ever did. I was like, I'll figure it out. We're going to do this and I'll figure it out. And yeah, and so that's right. And then, I mean, the first time we went to Vegas, I hardly even knew him. And then, but we've been business together for, shit, I don't know, man. That was 2005. Because there's no like, oh, Alpha Dog, like, and nothing's ego based. Everything's like sort of methodic, and we're both self-aware. So if one of, you can't be like, perfectly calm all the time, but like, you're going to get heated or you're going to be a dick, and it'd be like, I'm sorry, I was being a dick. I realized that, so it works out pretty good.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
my problem is I don't have the thing. We're not far from Chicago, but there isn't the place nearby where I want to hang out.
Right.
And I'm getting old. It's not like I go out fucking partying all the time, but you want that place.
Like
Well, this-
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking crack. Yeah, if we could replicate the Cracker Barrel and have a goddamn hash brown casserole nearby.
Perhaps a Waffle House.
I've been saying it for years. I want to do. We can't get a Waffle House.
We've
up
talked
here,
about it,
right?
dude.
Yeah,
But
that'd
if
be
we
awesome.
could replicate the Waffle House, everything, right? But
Hey,
also
hey.
serve alcohol.
Be careful, dude. Be
I
careful.
don't.
This is-
Yeah. Now everybody's gonna do it.
Yeah. No.
But honestly, that's not
Waffle
really.
House with alcohol would be
Well, that's not really.
Insane.
That's
Oh.
not really the environment people want to drink in, though. They want cozy and dark and.
Well, I'm looking for a different kind of clientele. We're looking for, beer,
MMA
beer
level.
and waffles.
Beer and waffle. Oh man, you want to get into food?
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, I would not get into food.
Yeah, that's
You gotta love it. You gotta be into it.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta want it because that's expensive and it destroys your profits.
So what do you guys think of the
Uncut Unfiltered.
Unfiltered?
Dude, I dig it. I haven't disliked any of these so far. They've all been
So
solid.
So this is 4-year, 5-year, 6-year, 7-year, and 8-year. 7 and 8 years been aging in Las Vegas, but obviously a lot more oak, a lot. You know, it's a lot more complex. It's a lot deeper, heavier, and darker. When's this batch from? This batch is from May, so it's a summertime batch. You know, I usually keep them a little lighter in the summer.
Are these sleeper bottles that you brought in?
Oh, we've got 2 of them up on the shelf there. We can cross-reference them if you want.
They change throughout the seasons. You know, depending on like what I'm in the mood for. Like the first 3 we had, I try to be consistent with, but this is just whatever.
I like the uncut unfiltered way better than the small batch.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite.
Uncut
Really?
Unfiltered is a flagship, but it's okay.
Oh yeah, we talk about it all the time. It's so funny, and honestly, I don't. You can correct me if I'm fucking wrong, but I have found even whiskeys or bourbons that we know that we like and we go to, depending on how the day's gone, what we've eaten or what we've drank before, we sit down and sometimes it just is like, oh, what is this? This is not what I'm used to. Stuff changes.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Or just what you
So-
ate or
Yeah,
drank leading up to
yeah.
it.
If you're talking about like eating, there's stuff that your palate's going to change depending on what you
It's
eat.
wild.
Oh, we've got a batch number 107. That's October 30th, 2021.
That's probably going to be like really dark and peppery and earthy, and
Versus May 13th, 2023. That's a 180B.
I think it's
Damn, that's like fresh.
yeah. Well, this is super fresh. Very few
What-
people have had this one.
I've got one at
That's-
home. I was going to bring it in for street cred. It's a white label, but I thought it was a uncut unfiltered white label.
that was 20. When was that? That was 2020, I think, was when we ran out of
Oh,
amber
it's the new
bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
so
it a bottle issue?
yeah, well, so amber glass is only done twice a year, so you have to plan for 6 months. And here's another, like I don't know, it was life lesson or whatever, but definitely perspective and perception story. So during December of so it must have been early 2021 because during December of 2020. It was height of COVID. I gave away one of the rarest stuff I had by the 6-pack for the holidays because I figured, you know, people were broke or so they couldn't give out presents or they didn't have any money.
They're scared of where the economy was going.
Yeah, I just figured. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give. I'm not gonna sell this stuff. It was a special batch, small batch. I'm gonna give it away, and I'm going to give it away by the 6-pack, but you have to either gift it to somebody, but you cannot sell it, you know? And so somebody sold one. And I said, if you sell it, I'm going to burn down your secondary group. So don't do it. And somebody did it. And I didn't end up burning down the secondary group because the admins were like, hey, we took care of this guy. Like, you know, we deleted the post. We got rid of him. He's kicked out. We know this is a banned bottle. But I posted on Instagram that that's what I was going to do. And I showed the guy and I said, fuck this guy. And it's just amazing where everybody in every secondary group was like, it's over. Your brand is done. We made you. And now we're going to destroy you. And I said, I got a secret for you guys. You're not part of the bourbon community because we just sold out of everything. Like I did that, and people hate you so much. And since I did that, the distributors got record inquiries from retailers, and everything on the shelf is gone. And like I was standing there, like we had no barrels. We were waiting for a truck, and it was like empty warehouse. It was like, we have no barrels. It was like all sad, and the comments were like, "Get used to it, buddy, because no one's gonna buy your stuff ever again." And we ran out of bottle. Like I thought we were on this trajectory, and that just like took us. And within 3 weeks, I was like, we're not going to make it till the next shipment of amber bottles shows up. And I called the guys, and they're like going to try to move our molds to a different factory or whatever, but it was going to take too long. I said, well, they do clear glass all year. Can we get on the schedule for clear glass? And he was like, are people going to care? I was like, yeah, they're going to care. He's like, they're going to be upset. You mean? I was like, no, they're not going to be upset.
I was gonna go the other way. That
They're
was
going
like
to
a
freak
collector's
out,
item.
and
It's
it's going to be
something different, rare. Holy shit.
They're
Yeah.
going to want to know what it is. And so, like, on the back label, I was like, this is not special, okay? We just ran out of amber glass. And it just was really like, you know, you have these guys where they're in these secondary groups, and they think they're the king of the world. And they're the king of their world, which is like the size of a fucking postage stamp compared to everything else. They have no influence. They're
It's not mainstream.
yeah, and they think we're gonna destroy you. And it's like
You're not going to destroy
you're
shit.
not gonna do anything. You know, it's like it was weird. But
I went ahead and opened mine. Is that not?
no, open it, drink it, man.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Put a candle in the bottle. You know, when it's gone.
So
Put some flowers in there. You'll have that clear bottle forever.
the limited release stuff, you did like a Halloween one. So I was at a
Yeah, it's just Halloween version, like this red, white, and blue one.
Okay, I was at a little Halloween shindig with some
Yeah.
people I usually don't hang out with, and there's the usual like crap liquor sitting around there, and I'm like, oh shit, you got that, you got some Smoke Wagon, a little Halloween edition.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't mind if I do. It was good. Man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just
Phenomenal.
regular straight. So the first one I ever did was the 4th of July bottle. What is it, 2023? So it's 2021, and like everybody was like kind of, I don't know, it was like all this anti-American stuff. And I was like, fuck you, man. Like, this is bourbon, it's America's
If
spirit.
you drink bourbon, you're
Yeah,
pretty
and
hardcore
this is the
American.
greatest country in the world. You either don't have any immigrant friends or you don't have a passport, if you don't understand that.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it.
and I was like, I'm doing red, white, and blue bottle, and because I love this country and I love doing bourbon, and then I was like, I'm gonna do a Christmas one too, because I love the holidays. And this guy that I deal with for the bottles, he used to work at Seagram's, and he was like, you know what I never understood is no one ever did a Halloween bottle. It's the #1 drinking holiday in the
Halloween
country.
is?
Yeah,
Fuckers
I
love
I was
them
like,
some Halloween.
I was like, you're right, because I have a bar in Vegas, and Halloween is insane.
oh yeah,
Now
Halloween in Vegas is insane.
now in LA, it sucked because everybody had parties, but people on the East Coast are like, you should have St. Patrick's Day. I was like, no one gives a shit about St. Patrick's Day on the
that's
West
old
Coast.
news.
It's nothing compared to Halloween.
that's right.
And Cinco de Mayo. When I lived on the East Coast, like Cinco de Mayo was like huge. Like there's no Cinco de Mayo on the West Coast. I'm like, it's okay, but Halloween. And I was like, you're right, dude. It should be Halloween. I should do a Halloween bottle. And I was sitting there and I couldn't figure it out. And then one day I was like sitting at my computer. I was like, what if the desert sage was like skeleton hands coming out of the ground? And I was like, all right, I got it. Halloween bottle.
Yeah, dude, the Irish, they can have that. They can drink their Irish whiskey for St. Patty's Day, Halloween.
Halloween.
Well,
Swords.
yeah, Northeast St. Patrick's Day is huge, but it's not huge everywhere. It's not that huge on the West Coast for sure.
So tell us about the rye.
Okay.
You gotta
ready?
explain this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you-
so
you-
Are we saving the best for last?
Well, you were hinting.
Well,
at it.
I don't know
You
if
were
it's the
hinting good or
best.
bad.
This sucks.
Does it?
Yeah, you're gonna puke and then
Well,
you're
I'm
gonna
not
die.
dude,
So,
I'm not a
say
huge
goodbye.
rye
you're
guy.
gonna piss out of your ass.
You might lose a hand or a leg or half a hand.
half hand.
So this is a blend. It's fun. Well, let me see if I can keep this as a short one. I don't know how to do that. But basically, I think this is what everyone was expecting me to do with a rye.
Okay.
Because the first two ryes I did was the Bottle and Bond, which is very soft and very gentle. It's 51 rye, 40. Well, I thought it was 49 corn. It's actually 45 corn for barley. And rye guys are like, this doesn't have enough spice for me. And so that ended up getting a very small niche following of people that wanted like a rye that didn't really taste like a rye.
So what's the deal with rye guys? Because I've never
We have traditionally not gravitated towards rye.
well, and you don't generally. I don't think I've ever been in a drinking environment where somebody's like, "Oh, I'll have the rye." I would love. Do you have any rye up there? Because I'd like that neat, please.
Yeah. Well,
You just don't see that a lot.
Well, I love rye. I mean, the bourbon's 36% rye, so that's where all that spice comes from. And people like cinnamon and like other baking spices like vanilla and nutmeg and things like that. So this is one rye is 51, 49% malted barley, and on its own, it is funky.
Okay.
And people like it, but it might not be something they want to drink all the time. And the 51-45 corn was like too soft. And I was like, okay, I got a plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the funk out. We're going to get the funk out of this, and we're going to make it big and sweet and spicy. And it was hard. Like, it came out so late because the bottle guy was like, hey, do you have a label? I was like, I don't have a label yet. I haven't designed a label because I don't know if this is going to happen. Like, I don't know if I can get this one right. And I finally got it right, I think. You might spit it out.
Is this your first rye?
No, this is our third rye.
Is it?
Yeah. But I think this is the one that everybody's really going to like.
We've been hit or miss on the rye.
Standout?
We had the Willett Family Reserve, and that was
It's like a
cork back on and put it back on the shelf.
It's like a bouquet
yeah.
when you drink that. That has
But it's
just
great in cocktails.
Too much going on for you?
a lot going on. But I'm
Got a great smell.
I'm a big Manhattan guy. Love Manhattan. So
Oh, my God. That's so good.
there's a place.
It's so different.
There's a place
Sorry.
for ryes in cocktails for me, but I don't drink them neat. But we'll see what we got.
That is like,
Holy shit.
Drastically different.
yeah. It's so sweet.
I need like a little sorbet or something. I think.
You want some water?
Cleanse it out.
I mean, punch you in the mouth.
Yeah.
Fuck. Please do.
That's. It's I wonder how I would feel about it just straight first drink of the night or something. But after the round of what
Totally
we just
different. Totally different than everything we've tried.
that is no bullshit. I mean, I already told you ones I was like, you know, but that right there is fucking great.
Thank you. Yeah.
that's good.
I'm very proud of that.
Phenomenal, dude.
Especially when we've traditionally haven't had the best of luck
with ryes.
reviews
Yeah.
on ryes.
Yeah, so the nice thing is that 49% malted barley, it's so thick with fat. It's going to be thick in your mouth. You're going to love it. I mean,
Yeah, no,
well, look, even swirling
yeah,
this.
when it hangs on the
Yeah,
glass.
Look at
so-
that swirl. It looks
got
like
some legs.
vegetable oil in there, you know, and that's all from the malted rye. The malted barley. It's just got so much fat in it, and so what I found is doing that 51 rye, 45 corn, I could really cut down on all the smoky weirdness and like super big ginger ale effervescence and pickles and all this crazy stuff that comes from the malt.
Yeah.
But maintain like the nice aspects of the malt, like the actual malt, like the sweet sugary flavor, and like a little bit of that ginger and
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that, but
yeah,
it is good.
but it's all like sweet and yummy because like when you have the regular malted rye, there's a lot going on, but it's like people are like, oh, that's funky or that's interesting. They like it. I like it, but I wouldn't want to drink it every day.
Yes. But this right here, it's like you said, it is that big and that sweet and that.
Dude, I think the most interesting thing I've taken out of this so far is the fat, right? Because we've talked about that a lot, and I don't know if that was like a rookie thing or if we're like speaking out of place when you're talking about like certain bourbons, they taste thin, and then there's others that taste fat, and the same goes with ryes. But it's
Well,
interesting
a lot
to
of
hear
bourbon is chill filtered, you know.
That's my thing on, like I always reference it to Blanton's. Blanton's taste wise is okay, but the it's thin.
Yeah.
It's so thin. And that would be such a different taste if it was thicker.
Yeah. So I mean, chill filtration, I'm not a fan of. You know, that's why even the straight's 92.5 proof because so when people say, "Oh, add some water, it's going to open it up," right? So that's happening on a molecular level. The alcohol has dissolved all the lipid esters, all the fats, and all the sugars and everything, so you can't access it with your palate. And as you lower the proof, they get released. And so if you lower the proof enough, the fat gets so released it can return to a solid form. And that's called at cold temperature, and that's called flocking. And there's nothing wrong with it, but nobody wants to look at a bottle with like little snowflakes in it and residue at the bottom, you know. And so that's where chill filtration comes in. Like we were talking about tax. So if you have 80 proof and you're doing 9 liter cases a year and you proof it down to 80 proof, that's a huge savings as far as tax and as far as how much bourbon goes in there. And so that's where chill filtration comes in, because if you're going to do it at 80 proof and it gets below 35 degrees, it's going to flock. It'll flock on a truck coming out here in the wintertime. And the other reason you do chill filtration is for consistency. You know, once you start doing charcoal filtration and chill filtration and everything, you start stripping out the flavors, but it's all going to taste the same, but it's going to be thin because it's not.
What advice do you give to either brand new or fairly new bourbon enthusiasts? We get questions all the time.
You're too late. Go do tequila.
Yeah, tequila. Dude, Phil's over here fucking with all kinds of tequila. And he's
Phil's a tequila guy.
Well, turning me onto it. And I'm like, dude, I already have a bourbon addiction.
Yeah.
I don't need another.
No, well, actually, I just did an Instagram post. But my advice is don't let ego get in the way, because all these guys make these ego-based decisions. Like, I was just doing this event at Benny's yesterday, and I was the only owner standing behind the table. It's like, that is invaluable. First of all, for the first half where I'm dealing with, the staff, it's like, if you think you're too good for the staff, you're an idiot. That's a free sales force. They dictate everything. You're not fucking Mark Wahlberg will go bartend for his
Dude,
tequila.
I just saw that.
Yeah, on Fremont Street. That dude's he's got much more money than me, and his brand is bigger than, if it's not too big for him, it's not too big for you. And those people, and it should be genuine. It's not like calculated, like, oh, must interact with these people that I think are less than me for end results. It's like, there's nobody less than anybody. It's like everybody's got a job to do. And all these kids, they're all young and they're excited. And it's like, I always say it's like record stores in the 80s, where like you go there and there's these kids and they're excited about this band and they want to introduce you to it. You want to be that band that they want to introduce other people to. And if a brand ambassador is doing it, or if you think you're too big, you're like, oh, the way big brands do it is they get a brand ambassador and they get a sales rep, and well, you're not a big brand.
Yeah.
You want to stand out from a big brand, do it different than a big brand. Don't pretend like you're a corporate structure.
For sure.
Right.
Engage with these people, because they can be a free sales force, and appreciate them genuinely. And then also, customers, if you send a brand ambassador to do tastings, they're not going to tell you everybody hated your shit, because then you can be like, oh, well, fuck, I guess I don't need a brand ambassador anymore. Like, it will just, fire everybody and go under or whatever. So, you like to get real interaction and to see like how people feel about it, and with no filter, and hopefully they like it. I mean, that was the thing in the beginning where Jonathan, who was not really involved, is stressing out like, dude, there's all this money out there and like nothing's happening. And I was like, don't sweat it, man. I'm doing these tastings. I'm like 10 people deep and everybody loves it. It's going to happen, And
Dude, at the very least, like if 2 or 3 people listen to this podcast, you can say,
I think
like,
we're up to like 7 or 8.
Yeah, we're at 7 or 8, but
Almost double digits.
But I feel like we are your like core customer base, right?
Yeah.
We're not like over the top whiskey reviewers, but like, dude, I've got a massive fucking bourbon collection. I love fucking bourbon, but this is great, dude.
Yeah.
Like, the stuff is phenomenal.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Like, that's great feedback, but
Yeah.
for you to be here, it's super, super cool, man.
It is.
Well,
I think that, I guess.
well, by the way, it's mutual, because I love this place.
Well,
I love your builds.
Dude, we rolled out the red carpet.
They're my dreams.
you get to.
Hey, we've had some rad people like on this podcast.
I know, I've seen it.
But we rolled out I was like, I know you're a car guy, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, we need to give you some fucking joyrides.
Oh man,
you
the
got to
cars
ride
are
with some
amazing.
shit.
And dude, so that was the first time I drove that. That's Bobby.
Oh, the
Bobby
truck?
Anastario's legend truck. Bobby's an awesome dude, and you got a little joyride in the in Scott's Grand National.
Oh man, that thing is rad.
Your
Grand-
eyeball still like attached after that.
Oh yeah, but my face hurts from smiling so hard. It's so different being a passenger, like in those things. Because like even like when you have fast cars, like the joke is it's only fast once when you're driving it,
Yeah.
because then you get used to it. But as a passenger, you never get used to it because you're not in control and you're like, yeah, man.
Sure.
But yeah, all the builds are awesome, and you know, I mean, I've been dreaming about roaster shop builds for over a decade, I would think, you know, and it's cool too because like I was always like. I was never Mr. Numbers matching guy. Like I always wanted to do custom stuff, but I like doing period correct stuff. And like my Monte Carlo has 17s and 18s on it. And the wheels I went with, the guy was like, "Oh, we need to do these wheels because you can do custom backspace on them. You can do anything." Well, I didn't know shit about like aftermarket. I could tell you like, okay, this is where you get the 15-inch Halley brand, not replicas, or these guys are doing the like. This is, where you can get this, like 15s. And so I was like, okay, I guess this is what we'll do. But because I saw your stuff with like all the Forge line, I was like, I don't know. I didn't know anything about like Forge line. I was like, oh man, these like, that's what I want on my car is these wheels, not the old man stuff I got on there. I want this stuff, and it's cool.
That's my point. And not to get away from the car shit, but back to my question, we try to lower the barriers and explain stuff for guys that are getting into the car. Just like you said, you didn't know about the Forge line stuff. You didn't know about this chassis was just a bolt-on thing. You didn't know that for the guys getting bourbon.
I knew about that.
You knew about the chassis.
I knew about the chassis and the new spec stuff where you can put 15s on it.
Dude, we were connected.
Yeah, because I want a 15s. I want a spec chassis for my C3 Corvettes.
He's got rad styling.
Yeah.
Like
He's got the look.
Oh yeah, super into the like the 70s vibe.
Yeah,
we're
70, yeah, and 80s about that IROC
Street Freak C3.
Absolutely.
Oh man, a Street Freak C3. Well, no. Well, okay. So my 72, right?
Yes.
The 72 is rare because it's big block 454, 4-speed, power windows, power steering, blah blah blah. Who gives a shit?
Like it'd be great numbers on eBay. Sell that shit.
Well, no, build it, man. It's fucking dream. My dream. It's a convertible, white on red. It's like. Maybe it could use a repaint eventually, but it's perfectly awesome. All it needs is to go faster and handle better, And like the tires I have on it are like the Firestone, the Coker radial wide. I roll them under my car when I'm going around a turn, because I'm railing. And like I tell the guy that works on my stuff, like, dude, I'm rolling these tires under my car. He's like, well, that's what's correct. That's good. They've got the look. I'm like,
fuck the look.
I'm like, I don't fucking care. I want to drive. I want to rail. I want to drive this car faster. And it's like, yeah, oh wow, numbers matching 72. What has it got? Like, fucking 250 horsepower, like 8-to-1 compression. Like, who gives a shit? Yep. It's not a 69 like tri-power or something like that. I mean,
you're not making your bourbon like they did in the Prohibition, right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing we were talking about is like, I've got a 69 Caprice 427, right? It's not even a 390. It was a 350 because I've got the sticker. It doesn't drive like that now because I'm putting fucking shit gas in it that's like not engineered the way it was, and you can't run the timing where it's supposed to be with if you have the factory compression, and it's all fucking bullshit, and it stinks. And it stresses me out at a stoplight in Vegas, when it's like 100 degrees. And it's like, And I'm like, man, I want fuel injection.
Do you still have the white 66, 67 Nova?
I do have the white. It's lemon wood. The 66 Nova. Yeah, we were talking about that.
That we should have taken for a ride in Rusty's car. That's a game changer,
dude. That car.
Oh,
it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I'm on eBay looking for Novas. The white with a red interior or blue interior.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh, there's a red on red 66 L89 clone. So you can here we're gonna talk about. Oh, you can do whatever you can do. I want to do whatever I want to my 66. Yeah. It's a real L89. It's super rare. Who gives a fuck? What am I gonna do? Like, just look at it. I want to drive it. I mean, it's not 1966. I can't put 110 leaded in it every day. And if I bought it in 1966, I'm not going to drive it around on the 14-inch by 3 wheels, Yeah. Which is what it has on it, I mean, it's fun because it's like, woo, sliding around, but that's not what I want.
Yeah, we're going to do something fucking badass. Like your apparel, your, like the stuff you're into. I dig it, dude. We're gonna do something fucking.
It's funny because I'm too late now. Like I really wanted to do like a disco Camaro 79 to 81.
Dude, Matt Deal.
He already did one.
Matt Deal laid the groundwork for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a game changer.
Dude.
yeah, those are awesome. I love those.
I'm telling you, I like to see more of those.
Yeah.
You know, the white 79.
Oh yeah, I know. What you're
Well, they're
Yeah.
yeah. Like I wanted to do one 4 or 5 years. I told this guy, I was like, I want to get a 79 to 81 Z28, and I want to put it on a roaster shop frame.
They do that orangish red Z28 with the badass graphics package.
He's been hard up like.
Oh, those are like the 81s. The 81s
that's
came
like
in that.
really
yeah.
cool.
It's like the 75, dude. I've been telling Phil that that's the outlier. It's like when the crash bumpers, when the first crash bumpers came in. Oh, with the Z28,
which is what most people talk about. Like, I want crash bumpers.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of it. That's the hardest ones to find.
The stripe.
I would choose your words
Okay.
carefully because I promise you that's going to be a bad.
I'll tell you what I'd love to do.
The big Z28 on the hood.
The stripes are cool.
There's this. I'm not going to tell you
Careful,
where.
careful now.
Because I
Watch
live
yourself.
because I live in Nevada, which is like big straights and big. Even the turns are huge, like big, like along lake. I would love to do a Lincoln Continental, like Mark 7. You say nope?
A Mark 7?
Wait, what's the? It's like
Mark
the
7. Is that what?
Oh, Mark 4.
I'm trying to think.
No, that's like a.
Which year-
Mark
what year?
7's like
What year?
the late 80s, early 90s.
Is that the one with
No,
the?
what's
Where they
the-
had the code on the?
what's like a 78? Is that a Mark 4?
I think it's
Oh,
a Mark
you-
4.
78.
One of
Phil,
those, yeah.
Phil fucking bought me one for my birthday. Dude, the Cartier edition.
Lincoln, yeah, Cartier.
Yeah, the Cartier. That was
Oh,
a 78.
yeah.
He had one.
Fucking A.
We went to his bachelor party. Everybody dressed in
What'd you do
leisure
with it?
suits.
I destroyed it. I daily drove it, and then I started jumping it, and then
We got into drifting.
and then we started
got the
drifting it, and then
demolition derby.
then there was
Oh, the
right.
Cartier one. It's the
It's powder blue,
You
Did
want
it, did
white
it have
lanyard
the
on top.
bucket seats with the console?
no console. It was
Okay.
it was a split
Yeah.
bench. in the
Okay, yeah,
front.
because I can't remember. I think it's the anniversary edition. That's the bucket seat with the console.
What do you
It
want
might
to
have
do
been the
with it?
Bill Blast.
Bill
What do I
Blast.
want to do with it?
Full chassis?
Full chassis, slam it, huge and ridiculous motor, like big.
You
big
already
cubic-
had a
dude,
huge motor. That was
I
like
think we should do that.
big, but like I like want big cubic inches, so it's
oh
got
yeah, like
that
a
diesel
like
torque.
like a 900 cubic inch.
yeah, something
fucking
like it.
engine.
Well, that's like my Monte Carlo is like a 581. You know, when you detune it to
What
850.
color? What color?
Well, there's one that I want that's white that has a super rare jade green
Interior?
Interior, yeah.
Oh, that could be really fucking cool.
I wanted to do a 66 four-door Cadillac white with that green interior.
Yeah, man, I love all that stuff, you know, because that's why I like riding Harleys in the turns, because you're taking something that's not supposed to go fast in a turn, and you make it
Yeah.
against its will. You're like, we're doing this.
We're doing it.
Yeah, we can do that
together.
Yeah, we do that all day long.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'd like to do something with my 69 Caprice, man. I think that would be bitching. You never even see Caprices anymore.
No, you don't. The Capri, the donk thing is popular with the Caprice.
I do not.
The donk.
I don't think there's enough
The
60s
Caprice.
Caprices out there to do a donk thing with them. I mean, they're so rare.
No, not the era that he's got though.
69. I'm trying to think.
It's,
It looks like an Impala, but it's got the I forget what that.
It looks like the 65, 66, just a little bit more squared off back end.
Yeah,
Okay.
the roof line is totally different, and they're more luxurious.
Oh,
Yeah,
it is it's a
and
gentleman's car.
it has the hideaway headlights, which is key. You get the 69 because with no hideaway headlights, they don't look cool. But
You're
with
just a
the-
poor if you
yeah,
don't
you're
have
just a
high-
loser.
if you don't have hideaways.
If you got a 69 Caprice with no hideaway headlights, you might as well
go
just
fuck yourself.
yeah, stop driving. You know, go get an electric car.
Oh yeah, dude, you got good taste, man. When we were chatting up there, I'm digging your car collection, man.
I've always loved them, and I love them so. I just love driving. You know, it's one of my. I love riding motorcycles and drive, and I like going for drives.
and you're out in Vegas, you go fucking forever.
forever,
right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could go up to Caliente or Pioche, or, that's along the Great Basin Highway. And it starts off a little ugly, but then you start going up in elevation. It's beautiful. Or you could go along the North Lakeshore.
Okay.
It's gorgeous. It's like driving through a Western. You know, it's all red rock and big mesas, and every time you do it, it's different because the sun's always in a different position, and like you'll be driving one time and like one red rock cliff will be lit up, but the next time it's in the shadows and you see something different, and there's wild burros and wild horses out there, and it's I love it.
That's 3 sneezes.
I apologize.
And there's
for
no
that.
one. There's no one there.
What do you drive the most? What do you got that you drive that you have the most seat time in? Your
I
go-to.
would say, well, right now it's my 69 Caprice because it was like the only one that was running in the 72 Corvette convertible, white and red. Those are the two. I really wasn't driving the Monte Carlo that much because I didn't enjoy it because we did this full build, but it has like a stock motor. I'm like, this sucks. I hate this.
Yeah, probably stock chassis, which isn't very good. Sure.
Yeah, we did all this Global West suspension, which is awesome suspension, but it's like, you know, in Detroit, like rear axle narrowed it and everything. It's like, why didn't we just do it? Roadster shop chassis.
Yeah, we're asking.
Question for the ages.
Fucking GMA body for. I mean, like
right.
how many? You know,
It's like, I don't go out and drink Jack Daniels, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Like, why doesn't this taste like Smoke Wagon?
It's got. I mean, I think it has like 2 more body mounts than a Chevelle would have, but
We could figure it out.
yeah, we could figure it out.
yeah, you just
An
slot
adapter
some
kit.
holes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else do I have? Well, I want to do a roadster shop chassis on my IROC, my 88 IROC.
That
Hey,
needs to
IROC
happen.
convertible.
Yeah, that thing's badass.
I saw some pictures of that thing. That thing's you got the din and a half or double din old Alpine, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I
You're fucking telling me
ripped
about
it.
it.
yeah. Well, yeah. So
It's
the head unit's a
mind
din,
blowing.
and then the EQ is a half
Pull
din.
that up.
Is that the
And
one
then-
that comes out and
Oh,
folds
look at
up?
that! And then this dude Rudy, he I don't know if it's on the.
I thought I saw it on.
You'd
the
have to go
Instagram.
further up.
Further up.
I think it was in the stories. I don't think it was on.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. There's my whole shot wheels I got for the 70
Yeah,
Buick.
those are rad.
Yeah, I did double bead lock. So if I wanted to, I can do a 315/60 drag radial, the way the cool kids do it.
Yeah.
Not that I know how to drag race, but I might look like I know what I'm doing.
Oh, you got bead locks.
There's the Caprice.
There's the Caprice, yeah.
Nice. Oh, red lines and fucking rallies, dude.
Yeah,
That's,
I love that
yeah,
car.
you got it going on with that.
That car,
That front end's legit with the hideaway.
yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That's
But it's too tall. It's got to come down.
at least
Yeah,
6 to 8 inches.
Yeah, it's got to come down.
It's and so that has a Craig 8-track in, floor mount 8-track that I found.
Nice.
Craig Power Play rocks. You got a bunch of 8-tracks in there.
You getting after it on something?
Oh, there's my IWI
Oh,
4.7.
Tavor.
Tavor 7 308, the Chonkster, the Chonkavoris.
I feel like we drastically missed the fucking hat game.
It's
Oh,
over
dude,
there.
you're bringing the heat. Is that a Charlie One Horse?
No, that's American Hat Co.
Oh.
over there. Yeah, I took it off for the headphones.
Damn.
Yeah,
I'm
it'd be
prepared though.
hard to- it'd be hard to-
I got my show me your bungle. Oh, there's my pace car. So that is the one I actually called here asking if you guys did a spec chassis for 15s for that one. So we're doing I'm just doing a 383 for that. I mean, it's L82 motor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bought that. That was some famous architect owned it, John Daly. It has 7,000 miles on it. There's the 72, the white on red.
That's a good looking car.
I love that car.
Yeah, it is.
I'd been looking. Crazy story about that car. I first saw that car in June of 2020 when I had COVID, and I told this buddy of mine, I was like, "Man, I'm gonna buy that car." He's like, "How the fuck are you gonna buy that car? You don't have any money." I was like, "I can't explain it, but I can see myself in it. I just see myself in that car." And then, there's my shovel head up. If you go one right there, yeah. 72 shovel head. That thing's a sleeper. It's got SNS 96-inch kit in it, Jim's top end oiling kit, all progressive suspension, Baker 4-speed.
Damn.
It rips. It's a death machine. That's a genuine death machine, man. Because you twist the throttle and the floorboards are angled and the seat comes down and you start sliding off the back.
Blowing off the back of it.
You know you're alive on that sucker. There's
That's
like
awesome.
the solid,
You know you're alive just before you're dead.
yeah, solid mounted engine, and so everything's tickling you. I don't know. There's the Monte Carlo.
You're just a big car guy, huh?
Yeah, you like the
Like
you like
size wise, big car.
Big GM car.
I like GMs. I am definitely a GM fan for sure.
What do you got for wheels on that?
Those are the shot wheels. They're okay.
okay.
They're a little.
Yeah, they make some cool stuff.
They're just not me. I want it to be sportier. And then like I saw that Chevelle you guys did with the wide oval stickers that Diamondback did, and I was like, oh man. So Taylor painted all that stuff for me. That bike's still waiting to be put together because we got to do. They won't do that one until the other one's done, and I'm waiting on the paintwork for the other one.
If you're into bikes and custom paintwork, we gotta hook you up with my boy Jeremy at Lucky Strike.
There's the Nova.
Got to.
It is the old butternut yellow. I thought it was white.
Yeah, yellow. Is it butterscotch or lemon wood? I can't remember.
That's a good looking car.
Yeah, I mean it's a real SS L89. Well, who gives a shit, right?
Perfect fucking project car.
Yeah,
Great
Slam
one to
that
start
bitch.
with.
Oh, so here, scroll up. Okay, one more. Keep going. On the right there, me out there with the. So that might look like some fashion shoot, but I was just out there taking pictures of my car, and this woman, this photographer who was doing wedding photography, she was like, "Can I take some pictures?" She was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just taking
just out
pictures
here
of my
looking
car."
good.
And she was like, "I love your whole vibe. Can I take some pictures of you?"
You mean
And I'm
like some tasteful nudes? Nothing weird.
so it's funny because it like looks like I paid for like this photo shoot of myself, but it was just that's why I love Vegas, man. You just meet people all
That's
the time.
fucking awesome. All right, now comes the time we have to ask the standard questions that we ask every single guest. First up, your very first automobile and a story about that car.
1981 Datsun 280ZX.
Ooh,
Yeah,
We got some Datsun fans in the house here.
yeah. So I bought that in 1988, and it was Northeast, so it was already a rusted piece of shit. And the guys I bought it from, they're like, "You're really nice. Don't buy this car, dude. This car is fucked up."
I think it's fun.
And I said no, because it was sick. It was black. It was a Grand Touring, which was super rare. And it was black with the tan leather interior and like the super dope stereo cassette, of course. And it had the super rare black and gold wheels. And all my friends had RX-7s. And I was like, I don't care. And I bought that car and I loved it. And then I had to sell it. And I was like, told this guy, I was like, don't buy this car. You're nice. This car's a piece of shit, dude. It's all rusted out. It just looks good on the outside. And he was like, I gotta have this car. And I was like, I understand. I was the same way, but you're gonna regret it. And I sold it and I bought a stereo. I bought some stereo for college. It clips horn speakers, and yeah, that was my first car. First dream car was a '67 Olds Tornado.
really? Tornado?
Yeah, I had all those
That's
books.
an oddball.
I had all those books, you know, like Cars of the Sizzling 60s, Cars of the Swinging 70s or whatever. And the centerfold was a 66 Oldsmobile Tornado. And I was like, what the fuck is
Side
that?
profile, those things look sexy.
Yeah.
That was front wheel drive, right?
Yeah,
It was
they
from,
were.
oh, yeah, dude.
You wanted
Flat
the leg
floors.
room. Yeah, you wanted the leg room to slide on over.
I took that. Oh, yeah. You didn't need the back seat, man. I get down with girls in the front seat. And let me tell you, I've had a bunch of cars. And, like, you know, you pick girls up. Or I love this car. That is the only. It was turquoise with a white vinyl top and the metallic turquoise interior. That is the only car I've ever had where I met girls with it. Where I would be standing there
shit.
pumping gas, and like a girl would come up to me and be like, "What is this?" And I was like, "67 Olds Tornado." She's like, "I don't like old cars, but this thing, there's something about it. I love this car." And it's the only, to this day, it's the only car that I've actually met any girl.
Tornado might be the cheat code.
No, I'll tell you what. The cheat code is a square body Chevrolet pickup truck. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Don't get a Tornado.
No, that like
Like I
little bit,
I know somebody got a '67 Eldorado and he like fixed it. He's like, "You want?" I was like, "No." Jay Leno was right. You take that body and you put it on a rear wheel drive car because everything is Tornado specific. You can't get any wheels. You can't do any brakes. You can't do anything.
dude, I have to beat the fucking women off.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. With the legend truck.
Seems,
When you drive, and
just-
I'm like,
I'm
I'm
just-
fucking married. I'm like, take
Yeah, I
it
know.
easy. But no, seriously, when you drive Phil's truck, for
seems as though that's a.
no, I'm not fucking around. Phil's truck, you drive Phil's got a bag, was 76?
77.
77. That fucking truck, you cannot drive that thing anywhere. Like, to the layman, that would look like it's a massive piece of shit, right? It's
Well,
like,
I think they're generally looking to get like landscaping work done.
exactly.
Yeah.
But, dude, anywhere you go, it is the biggest conversation piece ever. Yeah, they're like, they're peeling their clothes off. You're like,
But yeah, I mean,
make it easy.
I bought that truck.
Damn.
I bought that truck. Sorry. I bought that car when I don't know how. I think I was like 26, and you know, it was like back then it was like $5,000 or something like that. Nobody wanted them, and so I don't know what $5,000 would be now. Maybe 10. Not expensive. And man, I loved it. You know, I love that car. And I think, and the funny thing is about that car, another life lesson for everybody. You know, like everybody's got like these dreams of, you know, like, or like there's like that Daniel Mack guy, like goes to people like, oh, what would you do to you know?
Oh, the car guy. He's the
yeah,
car guy.
yeah, like, oh,
do you
what
do for a living?
advice
Yeah,
would you give to somebody who wants to drive this car? It's like, man, fuck that. Just get whatever car you want, because your life's going to change and your money might change or whatever. But I had as much fun and as much love for that car as I've had for like big builds or whatever, because you know, and I would drive that car, and the guy that I did my first bar with would call it a hunk of junk. And this was in like 2001, 2002. I'd had it for a while, and he had like a Mercedes S series or something. Like back then they're like 130. I guess now they're like 250. We would go to like the west side of LA and like valet park, and my car would get parked up front, and his car would get like parked in, you know, wherever.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd be like, "Oh, you're a hunk of junk. Like these cars are going to $3,000." I'm like, well, man, you're already lost, dude, because you bought your car for other people. I bought this car for me.
Oh, yeah.
There could be a nuclear war, and I wouldn't give a shit. I'd be driving around my Tornado going, you know, back then I rolled my own cigarettes, just driving around, having a good time. I'm not buying it for somebody else. I've never bought anything to impress somebody. It's always been for me. And
That's
I
what
think
you gotta do.
that's what you got to do. Yeah.
And there's nothing. I don't think there's a vehicle that exists that depreciates faster than a Mercedes.
They're all lemons, man.
Is
like,
there?
yeah.
No.
Honestly.
No.
Yeah, you lose $100,000 within the first
Yeah.
couple of years.
I think it all goes into something like fund or something.
Right. Like I mean, dude, I'll probably get a Fiero at some point.
I wish you would.
On
hope
record,
so.
on record.
That's on record.
I hope it's
I
sooner
don't
than
give a
later.
shit.
Well, why wouldn't you?
You guys can fuck with me as much as you want.
We will.
But
100%.
a Fiero? Dude,
Yeah.
I'll drive the shit.
Absolutely. I don't see any
I
reason
will
why you
drive
shouldn't do
the
it this
shit.
weekend.
I'm going to be on eBay tomorrow.
Oh man, what did I see?
And I'll enjoy it. It'll be a fun ass car to drive.
Dude, fucking with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Because it's a rear engine sports car.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
it's
that
got-
rear or mid
I
engine?
That's a mid-engine.
Mid-engine, yeah.
Right, that sucker's sideways.
You're
It's a
getting in the
transverse.
rear. But
It's an exotic car.
it's not exotic.
I see what you did there.
It's not exotic.
It's fucking exotic as shit, dude. It's a
No, it's not.
yeah, it is.
No, by the definition of exotic, that car's not exotic.
100%
It's
it is.
it might be rare, but exotic is not. Exotic comes from like Tahiti or
Not
something.
wanted. Not wanted.
yeah.
Not wanted. Yeah, not
Desirable.
not common.
Underappreciated.
Pontiac
Right.
is not common, dude. They don't make
Yeah,
it.
but it's not exotic. That's a stretch. I'm gonna have to. Is it?
Go ahead.
It's
I'm
cool.
going to side with Josh on that one.
Yeah, I think you should get one.
100%.
I see. Honestly, I see absolutely zero downside to it.
I see huge upside.
Huge upside.
They did a yellow one, didn't they?
Oh, hey, they did them in all kinds of colors, dude.
I've never seen one that wasn't like red.
They did red, white, black,
yeah.
and yellow. What other? Oh, they did a turquoise,
Dude,
didn't
and
they?
I'm gonna North Star swap it.
He has researched it. I'm just
Yeah.
North.
Yeah,
Star.
you don't just throw that out there.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna.
That's right.
It's like
That's cool. You'll be the dude with the
It's like
North
a-
Star swap
it's like
Fiero.
it's
Yeah,
like
made it-
that's-
made it
it's like a front wheel drive, but in the
in the
rear.
back, right? Yeah. You mate that to a F40 fucking Pontiac 6-speed
Body kit.
manual.
Yeah, and you get there 3 hours early at the Wakanda Cruise Inn, and you're
You're
parked
damn
at the
right
corner.
I do with a
back
little
down.
like a 1/24th scale version of it sitting right there on the top of the motor.
I want to see you and Wyatt. Wyatt is his son, sitting in lawn chairs in front of the North Star Swap.
Oh, he
Bureau.
would. He would not endorse that.
I know he would. I know he would.
I think Wyatt would shit all over that.
Yeah, he would not endorse the North Star Bureau.
Fucking Fiero, Dad.
Here's the funny thing, right? So, we always talk, like, conversation we're having out on the floor there was, like, about change and stuff or whatever. And like, the whole new generation, you're talking about your son. My alternator went out on my 72 Corvette, and that thing looks bone stock, and it basically is. And so this guy was jumping my car for me, and he had like a kid, young, and he was like, "Oh, this car's cool. It's all stock. It'd make it worth a lot more money if you modified it. You really should modify it, I'm like, "Yes, kid, I should. I should modify it. This is stupid."
That's it's just the way it is.
But it's real. I mean, like I use you guys in like I was just watching the Mecum auction, and there was like a 63 split window, Fuelie, it sold for like 180. Then there's a 63 Roadster Shop build, and it sells for like 350.
Goddamn right it
Yeah,
is.
fuck yeah, man.
People want to use the shit.
Yes.
They want to
do,
use the
yeah,
shit.
you want it.
Yeah.
Just like you said, nobody's collecting the shit anymore. They're drinking it. Right?
Yeah.
They're not collecting the cars and sitting there and saying this is one of 37 that was
dude, at the
Marina
end-
Blue with the
yeah.
Marina
Yeah.
top.
At
I
the
wanna
end of
use
the
it.
day, the bottle's awesome, but if the bourbon sucks,
Yeah,
Yeah, if you can't enjoy it, what's the point?
exactly.
But it-
There'll be more bottles.
Yeah.
Or if you really like the bottle, you save it, put some flowers in it, maybe a candle.
right?
Next to your Fiero.
Yeah.
What's the
You're pushing the
best-
candle thing. Is that like the next business
I
model?
can't.
Maybe.
I think
I'm
he's
just
got a
letting
Smoke
people
Wagon
know.
candle company.
No, it comes from. Do you remember that champagne that was big in the 80s and early 90s? It wasn't champagne because it was sparkling wine from Spain, and it came in that crazy bottle. But it wasn't. And everybody
Crystal.
it was not Cristal, but
That
everybody.
Bartles and James.
No, but everybody would. It was like this super decorative bottle with like a metal bottom, and everybody would turn it
Did
into a
you
candle holder.
put a highlighter in it? And then
Turn the
that
black
was-
light on.
yeah.
That was like that was
absolute.
90s.
That was absolute.
Yeah, that was 90s era.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Favorite car movie and why?
Oh, 2-lane blacktop.
Yes.
Oh, solid pull.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
That's
yeah.
good.
Driving a little 55, baby. Driving around with the slicks in the back, getting it.
Dude, you have no idea how much street cred that just gave you for a fucking true car guy.
Yeah, that gives you a lot of street cred. That's for sure. That was James
Taylor.
Taylor. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Were there more than 7 words spoken that entire movie?
Yeah. You build the headers.
That had to be a cheap movie to make.
396.
454.
No shit.
Little Chevy, little 55. That's all the announcer kept saying. Little 55.
Best piece of advice that you've ever received.
Man, that's a tough one. Best piece of advice I've ever received. I don't know if I've ever received any good advice. It's usually bad advice.
Don't stick your hand in a whatever the machine.
Stay the fuck out of the planer, dude.
Don't marry someone right after you get injured.
Well, what about
maybe?
or best advice you would give? You've had
Yeah.
a hell of a career. You've had
The best advice I would give is that you always have to maintain perspective. I think the biggest flaw that people make is they lose perspective and don't appreciate what they have and judge like there is no limit to human suffering. It can always be worse.
yeah.
Just appreciate what you've got and build on it. If you wallow in the pity, you're never going to get anywhere. Nobody's going to give a shit. Nobody else wants to wallow in your pity. They're going to respect you more for trying to overcome. And so I would say that.
Yeah, that's cool.
If you weren't doing what you're doing right now,
I'd be sad.
what do you think you would be doing?
Wishing I was at the Roadster Speed Shop, fucking looking at cool shit, man.
Here you are. Here you are,
And
dude.
here I am. No, seriously, you don't. I mean, it's not lip service. I'm not fucking. Yeah, when we were pulling up in the lift, I was like, there it is, man. And I really was. I mean, even my buddy, I took a picture of him while we were driving because my buddy Corey was like, "Are you there yet? Have you seen any cars?" I'm like, "Am I here? Yeah, dude, I'm fucking
Yeah,
here."
with this asshole.
That's awesome.
Yeah. like legitimately excited. Like,
Well, dude,
and not everybody's a car person, so I'm like, I'm going to fucking roaster shop, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, do their podcast. And they're like, okay. And then like, oh, they had Joe Rogan and Jesse James, and then they're like, oh yeah, but for me, it's like, oh man, I'm going to roaster shop.
No,
where the fucking cars are insane. Like I go to your website every day, maybe not every day, but I like look at the builds that are going on, and like like you said, looking at that Chevelle and those tires, are like that's what I fucking want for my Monte Carlo, because usually when you see tire stickers doing the raised white letters, they're too big and they're all wrong. Right. And I was like, dude, that's it, man. And that's where I found those wheels that are on the 79 Z28. I was like, oh, those would be perfect on the Monte Carlo, like different color scheme. But, because I saw a picture of one from 1971 that had those Camaro wheels on it with the polyglass tires, and I was like, so somebody did a performance upgrade. They took their fucking rally wheels off and put those wheels on. I was like, that's the look, man. That's what I want.
Well, dude, we've been a huge fan of your brand for quite some time, and now even more because, I mean, there's a connection. I can feel it.
There is a connection.
Yeah, that will be that will now be my go-to drinker. It's funny when you hang with people and you make connections, it's like it makes it that much better.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
Absolutely. Kind of going, like talking about what, what I was saying about the Whiskey Fest, like being behind the table. You got these people, yes, connecting with the sales force of a store is one thing, but you got to be there for your fans,
Oh, 100%.
It's like they make it happen. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be doing shit. And like these people, I think they get filled with ego or hubris or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I'm the shit." Nobody's anything. Like we're all the same, and it could all end. And if you take it for granted, and you don't appreciate why you are where you are, I do think it will end. I think God will punish you, and you know, and if He doesn't, then the fans that feel let down will, and
there's just something about the connection to where. Like you're connected to the company in a more personal way,
yes,
versus just a major corporation, and you're like, oh, if I don't buy their bottle, it's not like now, like you said, like now it's
the guy.
If I'm in there, it's kind of like, oh, I mean, fuck, absolutely, they got 3 of them on the fucking shelf. I'm gonna grab all 3 of them, and it's a
dude. No, like it's gonna get annoying because everybody that comes over to my house, like I have a massive fucking bourbon collection. And that's gonna be the only thing I'm pouring, and I'm gonna be like,
dude, you got it.
Dude, so like on the podcast, so we were talking,
I was hanging out with Aaron.
Oh, when he says like, oh,
you mean to text him? I'll text him right now. It's not a big deal.
Here we fucking go again.
But that it's cool when that stuff happens, because it's like I said, it's mutual. Like my buddies are texting me, I'm like, I went to roaster shop, guys, man, it's fucking sick.
That's what I love. Honestly, that's what fucking life is all about. Yeah. It's like making those connections. Jiving with the people that you jive with.
Absolutely. That's why I love bourbon and the bourbon community, because like I never had that in the bar business. You're just burning through people.
Yep.
You got them for 18 months.
Yeah, it's short-lived.
Yeah, you got 18 months, and then they start slowing down, and then you're always looking for that next 21 to 22-year-olds that are like going crazy, and nobody gives a shit about anything. And in the bourbon, it's you make all these connections, and there's a community and everything. And it's not just like the bourbon community, but like I said, just like regular consumers and things like that. Like one of the coolest things that happened to me was when Instagram allowed you to see how many likes a tag, like if you're tagged in something, how many likes they were getting, and how many followers they had and stuff. And it was the opposite, because someone might say, oh, wow, you got to see these big influencers. I was like, no, I got to see guys who have like 30 friends, and like, all their posts are like their kids, or they mow their new lawnmower, and then it's my bourbon.
They chose to post.
That's fucking cool, because you get, a couple million of those people. There's only like 30 or 40 big influencers with hundreds of thousands, but you get like real people who are just post. Hey, this was a special moment in my life.
Paid for it.
Yeah,
they chose to do it.
You made a legit impact in their life.
Yes,
they made a buying decision based on something you did.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's super important. Cool. Yeah,
Aaron, it's been absolutely amazing. Really a great time. Remember, you can keep up. Go ahead.
The Blender Select got me, man. I was doing okay, but
Until you got
it's so high proof
dude,
and
it's so
it's so
good.
easy drinking.
would
That
say one of
honestly is a standout. We got to do a whiskey review. That's what we were supposed
That's
to
a
do.
lot of
Oh.
reviews.
No, we're just going to pick one.
Okay.
I would say one of the cool things
I'm
throughout this
struggling
whole
to pick
deal,
one.
like in the bourbon industry, like everybody's like the new exclusive, hard to get, unobtainable bottle. And you're like the only guy so far that's been pushing like the
Yeah.
this is the entry level we're trying to hit, like
Yeah.
something that everybody can get, everybody can buy. I feel like you don't see that.
Well, I mean, well, you don't. Like, I stopped doing barrel picks. And I didn't do a rare release for a year and a half because I just wanted to focus on getting the core stuff out there. I didn't even bottle the rye for 3 months while we tried to really push Uncut the Younger and stop it from being limited until we could figure out how to do more in our tiny space because we thought we'd move by now. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think there's a sustainable business model in just doing barrel picks and limited releases and things like that. I think like a lot of people either want to be acquired or whatever, and so it's like big profit, big movement, but it's not sustainable. But they're not really worried about it because they don't want to be around forever. I mean, I want to build like a legacy.
Following.
Dude, I think-
Yeah, it'd be cool,
that's very cool.
if there was a statue of me at the new 4.5 acre facility, and not while I'm alive, of course, but like
That'd be weird.
but when I'm dead. And like it's like there was some kids were like, who's this asshole in the stupid hat? Like, oh,
Why does he have half a hand?
like Sylvester Stallone statue, like in Rocky 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you get to throw your fucking motorcycle helmet at it when you're having like a bad day.
yeah.
I think we should review the Blender Select Straight Rye because, in my opinion, that was the standout. I really liked. Honestly, it's funny. I like both ends of the spectrum. I like the bookends. I like the entry level, and I love the straight rye.
Well, they're the sweetest and the least oaky and the most delicate for sure.
Maybe I'm a more delicate individual.
You're
but,
very delicate, dude.
Yeah, that's right. I guess
This is what I like about you.
I don't have a Fiero. What is the review?
Well, don't be hating on the Fiero.
Fuck you guys.
Come on, man. I'm excited to see this
I'll
thing.
own it.
All right, straight rye whiskey. Everybody's got a sip.
Okay.
I will say this.
Yes.
Not that this means anything. I don't care about looking stupid. So this is everything that I like in a bourbon with really crazy, bold flavors, right? We reference, because it's the easiest to reference, the Noah's Mill, when you get something that's just so wild out there, that's not like a normal bourbon. That rye we've always shied away from. That's a rye that I really, really do like. It's got the proof where it needs to be. Love the flavor. It's going to rank really fucking high for me. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to, oh man, this is a big one. It really is.
my goodness.
Hold on. Let me give it again. Man, I like it. It's an 8.8. It really is.
Am I allowed to review it?
Yeah.
You absolutely are.
This is the best rye, and if you don't like it, you're probably a communist pedophile.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Best rye. I'll remember all that. I'm not going to write it all down, but
I
I'll
don't know
remember
that
it.
anything else needs to be reviewed after that.
Dude, so
Dude, the communist pedophiles are the worst pedophiles, honestly.
Yeah.
That's the ones you've got to worry about.
Not only they want your kids, they want your stuff.
Yeah.
it's bad enough they want the kids. They want your things.
I'll take your car and your kid.
So that was an interesting review, dude, because I was torn. Honestly, I was right in that region, and I'm back and forth between like 8.7, 8.9, right? And then I say to myself, I'm like, 88, dude, that's a fucking good year, right? 88.
Oh.
First,
8.8.
Well, but here's what
first year for the IROC convertible.
exactly. But
Yeah.
here's what I'm saying.
I have one of those, by the
So
way.
I'm not a huge I'm not a huge rye guy.
Yep.
I did
average sized rye guy.
yeah,
You're an average size rye guy.
average size. I'm gonna say as a whole, right? You take that clump of bourbons and I'm rating the entire collection.
Whoa, that's a
I'm
package
rating the
deal.
entire collection.
He's a bundler.
I'm bundling it as an 8.8 because I enjoyed every single one of them. The rye, honestly, I'm not a huge rye guy, right? But I enjoy it. It was good. But each and every one of those, I would drink neat and enjoy them and serve them to my friends and proudly.
So what you're saying is
consume
the
them.
guys that are listening that are getting into it. We talked about the barrier to entry, or you go in, you're overwhelmed. Do I, if it's price point higher, is it better? You got guys that just don't know. It is overwhelming when you walk in and somebody's got a huge selection. You're like, well, fuck, I don't want to look stupid buying something. What if it's not good? I mean, $50 is a lot of money. $60 is a lot of money. $70 is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. That's one of the things. Like even when I did Uncut the Younger or in Straight, like people will be like, "Oh, why would you get that? Why wouldn't you just get Uncut Unfiltered?" I'm like, that's kind of a dick thing. Like Uncut Unfiltered is almost $80. That's a lot of money to a lot
100%.
of people. That might, and then if they buy that might be a special bottle. They don't want to drink. It kind of goes back to perspective,
Yes.
And so if you got a family or whatever, and but that like, why would you get Uncut Younger? Well, because it's affordable and you can drink it all the time and not worry about it. And
$40, $50, $60, $70 to spend on something that you don't need. Just because you want to enjoy something, whatever, is a lot of money. Let's not be dickheads.
And also, unfortunately, with bourbon, it's not like, especially with source bourbon, if you have somebody that's not contract distilling and they're buying aged stuff, you're paying a premium for age, and so it might be expensive, but it might be the age equivalent or the quality equivalent to something that's half the price. You just never know.
So you're saying 8.8 on the entire lot.
Yeah,
if you see Smoke Wagon brand on anything, just buy it and try it.
Just buy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Buy it, try it.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so
If you don't, your life will not be its fullest.
no,
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
So for the guy that's gonna make,
Hopefully the TTB doesn't come after me for that one. I had a TTB specialist when we were trying to get a label approval, and our mod, it was I think it was the Straight, because usually so this is the brand label here on, and then that's the only one where the logo and the motto is on the same sort of thing as the brand label, and so it's Viva Miss Moria NMS, let us drink for we must die, a Seneca the Elder toast. The specialist was saying it was false advertising because I was telling people they had to drink my bourbon or they would die.
oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's a fair statement.
Is that where we're at in society?
Yeah. Well, it was funny because the guy that I deal with who's from Seagram's, he was like, well, when I was at Seagram's, we would just go pull it out of one specialist and give it to another. I was like, I'm not Seagram's, dude. Well, I mean, Seagram's isn't Seagram's. But I was like, okay, well, I'll just let it expire with that guy then. And I let it expire and resubmitted it. And then the next guy approved it in a day.
For the guys that are looking to make a cocktail, right? Like an old fashioned, a Manhattan, something. Out of this group, what's the recommendation?
Yeah, Uncut the Younger for sure. Price point is there. And
It's got the heat.
it's got the heat.
Oh, I'd go
so
Uncut Unfiltered.
that's a very expensive
that's an
I
expensive
know.
cocktail.
I just like the heat there. I'd like to drink Uncut the Younger by itself.
He would make Manhattan with Uncut Unfiltered and then put gold foil on top of it.
Oh, he would.
And then
Josh is a little bit
and
fancy.
drink it out of
Yeah,
his
he is.
platinum. Use a little
No,
platinum
honestly,
soup
I
spoon.
take that back. I would do it with small. I would do it with small batch.
Small batch is great for cocktails.
I would do it with small batch.
Small batch is
I,
great
I'm going back through my head right now.
Yeah.
Of the thing that's the one I would do. Uncut the Younger, and Uncut the Younger, Straight, and the Straight Rye by themselves. Don't fucking mix them with anything, in my opinion. And then small batch is a great for a cocktail.
That I blended small batch to be versatile. Be complex and big enough to stand out in a cocktail. Like I said, I have it in the summertime. So I would agree with you.
What's your go-to cocktail?
I don't like cocktails.
Straight.
None at all.
Not at all. I don't like that flavor combination. It's probably why I don't like finished barrels either. People are like, oh, you ever do finished barrel? I'm like, no, I don't like them. There's no judgment.
Right,
It's
right.
just not for me. I just don't like
Interesting.
I don't like the. I don't know.
It's not bourbon.
Yeah, I like the way bourbon tastes. I love it. And so when I'm drinking a cocktail, I'm like, if I wanted this taste, I would just go drink some juice. Like,
Okay.
when it's like when I want a cigar, I want a cigar. I don't want to vape. You know.
I got it.
That's going to stick in your head every time you drink a cocktail now.
Well, no, that seems I don't mean to be judgmental. I don't know. I just couldn't think of another way to.
No, I
just
think
like
it's a great way to put it.
I like the history of it. I guess for me, like I'm not gonna go out and drink some like fruity ass like modern cocktail.
Hey, you don't have to defend. It's everybody. There's no judgment. It's just my flavor preference.
It's interesting you talk about the ice though, because it's completely on mood. Because there's times where it's those fucking hot summer days, and it's like I'm like, man, I'd like to have some whiskey, but fuck, it's too hot for today.
Get a little
Ice, man. That's what
lemonade.
Lemonade, some
Agave.
thyme, and some agave. Yeah. Make a cocktail of that. But
Well, see, for me, the small batch on the rocks, it just gets so fruity and sweet that
I'm gonna have to start trying that.
it's as refreshing as I would want to be.
Phil, what's your review?
Phil hated everything and he went blind.
Phil's blind; he can't see us.
That's from something else.
Mom told you that would happen.
Are we reviewing a single one? I think my standout is probably the rye.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
I really like
and then I liked that guy.
The entry
Straight?
level, straight.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong. Two double golds for that guy.
Really?
Yeah. Which is more important to me than any rare stuff. I don't enter the rare stuff. I only enter stuff that's like readily available. I don't really enter anything anymore because I feel like there's too much now. There's too many categories. Like it used to sort of be like armor against the hate. People like, your stuff's hot garbage. They're like, well, I want a double gold. And then all of a sudden, like, well, Crown Maple won a double gold. And now it's like there's ready to drink cocktails. And it's like, oh, Sarsaparilla Raspberry Spritzer won a double gold.
Dude,
and
what's wrong with Crown Maple?
I'll tell you what, the old Crown standard though, man. Ain't nothing mixed better with Coke than good old Crown Royal.
By the way, 36% rye bourbon, that was created by Seagram's for the heart of Crown Royal originally. And that was sort of the problem with MGP is when they bought the Seagram's distillery, none of the bourbons were known for bourbons. They were all like mixers for VO, blenders for VO and for Crown.
7.
Yeah.
Wow.
I drank the shit out of Crown and Coke.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I've drank some of the best.
Only
like,
at the strip
rare-
club.
I drank
though.
7 and
Rarest
7s. 7 and 7s for
bourbons.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crown Royal is
Oh,
still.
I had a bad
has
7
its
and
place.
7 experience. All my friends in college, they were all dipped tobacco. And I was drinking 7 and 7s and dipping, which I didn't really do. And I was taking the bus back to campus, and I puked on everybody. Like everyone. And it was right as the bus stopped, and I remember I was so drunk, and I remember walking past everyone. Like they're all, no, like I puked on everyone, and they're all like, oh my God. And I was like out. I was like off the bus before anybody realized what happened.
Dude, Phil passed a field sobriety test after like 37 Crown and Coke.
Oh my
Really?
God.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
Fucking champ.
let me tell you something. I got pulled over once, and I don't know how much I had to drink back then because I used to
All of it.
I drank all of it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was like, this is it, I'm going to jail. My life's over because you get a DUI as owning bars, you lose your liquor licenses, everything. And that cop got out of the car, and I was flushed with so much adrenaline, I sobered up immediately.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like he came over, and fortunately, like I was drinking vodka, so I didn't have any breath or anything. And like I just remember, so I had like a Ram 1500 with the Hemi, and I had it all hot rodded out. And my business partner Jonathan, he had like a BMW 7 Series, and I was racing him. I was like, your import sucks. And like we went flying, and like these cops saw us, and then I saw the officer on the side of the road, and so I got over a lane. And when I got over a lane, somebody tried to pass me on the right, and I didn't look. I mean, I was wasted, but I didn't look. And so I just got over and I totally cut that guy off. And so when the cop pulled me over, I was like, look, officer, I'm sorry. But the way I was raised was when you see a police officer on the side of the road, you get over a lane.
Because I respect you.
Yeah. And I admit I did not look in my mirror before I got back over because I did not expect anybody to pass me on the right in front of a highway patrol officer. And he was like, I pulled over the wrong guy. And I was like,
Yes, you did.
I was like, yeah.
Because you can see, obviously,
And
that
then-
I'm stone cold sober.
Yeah. And then he asked me if I was drinking. I was like, no. No, you'd know if I was drinking, man. I get
Yeah.
all red. And
That's
I was
something you don't do is
Yeah.
drink and drive.
Yeah,
That's something I've...
but that was it. I never drank and drove again after that. I was like, that was it, man. That was like,
Everybody's had those like,
Dude, this one, I mean,
shit.
we could share it or we could edit it out, but I mean, we were young boys, right? We fucking went to Colorado, Denver. We're hanging out with the Streamline guys. This is
Okay.
way back in the early hot rod days, right? I mean, we must have been like, what, you're probably 22, 23,
Somewhere around there.
right? So we go to a gentleman's club, right?
A dancing establishment.
Okay.
In the evening, right? Granted, like the drinking started midday,
Right.
early in the day,
Right.
I'd say. We're leaving said, gentleman's
Yeah,
club
dancing club.
after
why aren't you saying strip club? Are
strip
you
club,
ashamed?
titty bar, titty bar.
Yeah, man, we've all been there.
After dozens,
They're great.
and dozens,
Don't be ashamed.
multiple dozens of Crown and Cokes.
Sex workers are magical.
Oh, they are.
They're
Right.
wonderful.
And
Thank God bless them.
Phil's piloting the vehicle,
Right.
right? And I'm the voice of reason, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
guarantee you.
So
That
Phil's
happens
like, I
regularly.
think we need to turn right. I'm like, dude, you can fucking absolutely take a left here.
You're like,
And
well,
he's
whatever
like-
you do,
and
make sure
Phil-
you do it at
Phil's
full throttle.
Yeah, no, Phil's like very like he's got a lot of clarity, and he's like, I don't think so. There's a median. I'm like, there's no fucking yellow line. You can turn left.
Okay.
Well, there was a curb and like it was a big ass curb.
you don't have to put a yellow line in when there's
Right,
a
yeah,
structure.
right. So he turns
Against my
out.
better judgment, I turn left.
Yeah, so he
Okay.
turns left.
More so to
Dude,
show him
just
that, see, you can't.
before, like, he gave the steering wheel about 2 degrees of input to the left before the son of a bitch, right? So there was 3 or 4 of us, a couple of Phil's buddies, me in the car,
Yeah.
and we're sitting there watching. And they threw the fucking book at him,
Right.
right? And we're,
The peanut gallery didn't help.
oh
Of
yeah,
course, no.
I mean, it was right about the time Super Troopers came out, so we're meowing them.
Meow, is he gonna have to do that again? Meow.
Right. And we're, dude, is just fucking
Oh, he touched his nose.
I
And
mean-
screaming.
absolute acing the fucking field sobriety test like nobody you've ever seen.
Nailed it.
Oh yeah,
Fucking
They-
all-star.
They didn't know what to do, right? So they get through the whole thing, and you see them. They're like deliberating between the group, and they're like, I think we just need to arrest him. Like, like
Passed all the field sobriety tests, but his eyes are bright red.
yeah, he's got allergies, dude. He's
Yeah.
he's,
Super allergic ragweed.
Yeah, he's IBS. He doesn't wash his hands a lot.
Denver,
and It's probably
high
pink eye.
altitude. Yeah.
Yeah, so they fucking locked his ass up.
Oh, you catch one?
I don't know that I caught it, but
Yeah, everybody's caught one. Aaron, it's
Yes,
been
sir.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Dude,
It's
been a
been
good
great.
time, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
I had a blast.
They can follow you at smokewagon_Aaron or at Smoke Wagon Whiskey.
Yeah. If you follow me at smokewagon_Aaron, you're never going to see any of my stuff because I applied for free verification and got denied. And then Instagram was like, but you could always subscribe for a blue check mark. And I didn't. My engagement dropped.
They fucked you?
that day
Those
by
sons of bitches.
70%. No joke. 70%.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I went from like really like not that I was ever Mr. Viral, but my personal Instagram, like a bad reel was like 3,000, 4,000 plays, like, 200 likes, and my good ones were like 12 to 16,000, like 600 likes, whatever. Now, now it's like 900 plays, like 12% weren't following you, and like it's
Because they want that, what, $3 a month or whatever?
It's $14 a month, and it was just like nothing.
But it's principle.
Yeah, and I'd use my business card. It's because it's very edited. It's not,
right.
It's not very personal. I'm not like, hey guys, let me pour my heart out to you on my Instagram. It's like, I'm driving a car today. Today I'm on a motorcycle. Like today I went into the desert. It's not like, and but yeah, it's the principle. It's like, wow.
Fuck them.
But at the same time, it's like, man, I really spent time on that reel. And that hurts my feelings. Like, and also like you start looking like you bought followers because we got all these followers and like 12 people like this, and it's like
it's a moving
Dude, you'll
fucking
get at
target
least
every day.
3 or 4 more after.
Yeah,
this
dude.
podcast.
There's still at least 4 guys listening right now.
that's great. That's really cool.
No,
Steve, Eric, Tom, and
Mike.
Dustin,
and
or Mike.
Our mom is probably.
Oh, your mom. Yeah, she
my
listens to
grandma
everyone.
stopped because of my foul language.
You curse too
My
much. Your
foul
grandmother's not listening. Thanks again for listening to Oil and Whiskey with the Roaster Shop, an Ironclad
you.
original. If you like the show, be sure to leave us a rating and review. If you don't do fucking anything. Thanks again to our guest, Aaron Chepenik. We'll
My
see you
pleasure.
Again.
I hope
Thanks
so.
for coming, dude.
Absolutely.
See you
Yeah,
again
great
next
time.
week.